What is up, everybody? Sorry for the delay, but we are here. Little technical difficulties, but we'll work through them. We didn't want to work through them live, so we had to figure it out. That being said, I got my guy Coach with me. We're
What
going to
up?
talk about these rankings with Brock Purdy. Two different publications have him at 16. Find that interesting. We're going to talk about the power rankings of the San Francisco 49ers defense, and we're going to talk about Ricky Pearsall working out with Deebo Samuel. Is Deebo becoming a leader in front of our eyes? We're going to discuss that plus more next. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And as I said, it's Monday night, which means I got Coach in the building. Coach, what's up, my guy?
What's good, Jets? We're here to talk about these Niners. Fill out a little bit of a dead time. There's not a lot of news around here, so we're here to make a good show, man, because we do got to talk about our boys.
Yeah, well, we definitely do. And it's interesting because somebody always makes news for you, and it has to be discussed. You know, I think just coming up with a quarterback list on your own can be a little bit boring. But when somebody else puts it out there, it's like, well, let's talk about it, especially when somebody on your team might be a little bit lower than what people expect. But before we get there, let's talk a little bit about Ricky Pearsall working out with Deebo Samuel. This one surprised me a little bit. I didn't tell you this was a topic. I threw this one in very late. Didn't let you know.
That's why you're a real one, because at least you tell her. I'm like, he did not mention this.
No, I definitely didn't.
Okay.
I definitely
as long
didn't.
as you just being real about it. All right.
No, I definitely did not. But it's not. I mean, listen, it's not like crazy
we're good.
or anything. You don't have to.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things, though, that I found interesting because you saw it on. I think it was Deebo's Instagram. Ricky's in the background. Deebo's running and doing some sprints. And I found that interesting because Ricky supposedly is here to replace Deebo Samuel long term. And I know that Deebo takes a lot of flack. He was given the captain's patch last year. I think most of us disagreed with that. I think most of us thought Brandon Ayuk really should be in that spot. I feel like he's earned it 2 years in a row. I hope that he gets it this year. I think that he's earned it on the field. I think he's earned it off the field. And really, for a wide receiver to help develop a corner the way that he has with Deommodore Lenoir, the way that those guys go back and forth, I know that gets Demo going. So all that being said, though, Deebo has donned the captain's patch and is now working out in the offseason with his supposed future replacement. What do you think about this?
I mean, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. You know? I mean, I'm going to be fair. This does show leadership from Deebo. One thing about it is that leadership has a responsibility that's tied to it, right? That's the good and the bad side of leadership. You get to be out front and you get to talk down and you get to be the sage and you get to have all of the answers, but you also have to be consistent. And one of the reasons why, leaders have followers is because they're caught doing good things, right? All of this is good when Deebo has a captive audience, and he's obviously going to be working hard with Ricky, as he should, right? But they're going to pay attention to the day-to-day. You yourself have boys, right? You've got kids, and no matter what you tell them, no matter how much directed guidance you give them, they're always watching. And they're always picking up on the things that you think that they don't see. And that's really how they add context to what you tell them, is what they pay attention to that you're not looking at. So I hope that, Deebo, I hope that Tyshawn gets it together. Right? When the season starts, I'll go back to Deebo. But Tyshawn needs to show some consistency because he is a hard worker when he wants to be. And he can be in shape when he wants to be. right? And as far as I'm concerned, everything that the Niners paid for out of Tyshawn, he could do times 10 if he was just consistent and had more of a professional angle. So at $28 million a year, you got to earn nicknames. So we lost the Super Bowl, and I need Tyshawn to show up.
Man, for me, I just wanted to bring it up because I know that sometimes we can be hard on Debo, and it almost can come across like we think he's just expendable. Like, just get rid of him. Anybody can replace him.
That's not facts.
And it's not the facts. But I think from the outside looking in, it can come across like that sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was really my way of saying, you know what, man? I don't think you've led by example a lot in the past. I've definitely held you accountable for that. That being said, when I see you working out with a rookie receiver that is supposedly here to take your spot, I have to give you credit for that. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe there's an underlying crazy motive, like he really wants to see what this kid's about. Who knows? All I know is Ricky's a rookie. Debo's a vet on this team. Debo might be getting replaced eventually by this young man, and he's still found a way to work out with him, and I have to respect it and call it out and give him kudos for it. So that was really the point of bringing it up.
I mean, I get that too. Like, you got to respect it because, he doesn't have to do this, right? But at the same time, Jesse, we're not, how can I put this? Like, we are very sustained in our careers, right? And when you make a certain amount of money with your company, right, or the organization in which you work for, that is not a 9-to-5 job. Okay, that is not, when you get paid a certain amount of money, there is no such thing as I'm clocking in at 9 and I'm leaving at 5. No. Once we've agreed, once you get your offer letter and you've negotiated stock options, you've negotiated PTO, floating holidays, all of your health insurance, and you're transferring in 401ks, and you get all of that mess out of the way, and you may even get a signing bonus up front if you're really hot shit, right? The facts is that if you got to work on the weekend, you got to work on the weekend. That's the job, right? If you got to get on a plane and go be public facing to another client, that's what the job calls for. Once you sign the dotted line, there's no such thing as you penny pinching like you got your 30-minute lunch hour. You know what I'm saying? Like you work at fucking Macy's. Like, no. So for me, I feel like what we're asking of Debo, or what we want to see, I don't even think we're asking. We shouldn't have to. But I think the things that we want to see out of Debo are, quite frankly, people who live regular lives, they understand this, right? You can't be a guy that just shows up, last one there, first one to leave, and then expect to make like really good money. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work that way. So that's really what we're saying. It's like, dude, we got to get more bang for the buck. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in the 49ers, when they signed him, they knew what he was and what he was not. Here's the thing. There's a lot of players that make a lot of money that are not natural leaders. They're just really, really good at what they do. Mm-hmm. And maybe Debo has fit into that category in the past. And maybe now he wants to take on a leadership role. Maybe he's getting a little bit older and he's realizing, hey, if we're going to win a Super Bowl, I can't just be a player anymore. I've got to do something extra. I've got to bring something extra. And maybe it's as simple as he knows he's probably gone at the end of the year and he's trying to put his best foot forward so that he can get paid somewhere else and continue his career playing at a high level, getting paid a lot of money. I don't care what the motivation is. As long as he's doing it, I'm good. So for me, I like to see this. But yes, I mean, there is a certain element of this. I think the point you're trying to make is, dude, you get paid big time money. You should have been doing this before. It shouldn't have taken 2 off seasons of getting paid and not living up to expectations for you to finally go above and beyond. You had a captain's patch last year. You should have shown these things last year. I get that element as well. And I agree. I think both things can be true here.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair, right? But then you can also look at you look at this from like an educator and a pupil perspective, right? Debo always has a new theme every offseason. And whatever the common denominator of whatever theme he has in the offseason is to get away from the fact that he didn't do what he was supposed to do in the season. So last year was, I'm in great shape and I'm sending Kyle my pictures the entire time because I'm so focused, right? The year before that was, I can't be in shape because I'm focused on my money. I want my contract. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're going to do in this offseason, right? And then the year before that was, I got to get my body right because I was hurt from pushing all of 2021. It's like every offseason, and then now this offseason is, all right, I'm going to take on a guy under my wing and be a leader and, take him into like my work ethic and what I do on a daily basis. Like Brandon Ayuk was doing that since like day one, right? Even, so it's like for me, I just see it from a different perspective where I need to see something in the middle of the season. Like if it's like week 5, you know what I mean? Week 8, and it's like, dog, you know what? Debo is like in mid-season form. You know what I mean? Like he is blocking, he's on top of everything. I haven't heard from him. Like he's just showing then it's time for me to okay, let's move the needle. Let's really assess what we feel about him. But we know they're not going to have a hard camp, right? The camps they're getting older. So we have to understand that the camps are really going to start getting a little bit more, diminished in a sense, as far as they're going to get those reps, those times to kind of get rest. So really, if at this stage of their careers, mostly all of them now, because they're not young anymore, at this stage of their careers, it's imperative that they come to camp in shape because they're not young enough where they can just use the season, get in shape and keep playing. That's not happening anymore. All of these guys are either at 30, knocking on 30's door, or over it. So at this stage, your body's going to start telling on you. So we'll see.
Interesting. All right. Well, we will see. I think we're going to get the best Deebo Samuel this year, the best that he can bring, and again, we'll also see. Deebo's interesting because I almost look at him like a running back, where 28, 29's a little bit long in the tooth, right? Just because of the way he plays. He plays like a running back. So maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Maybe his career lasts well into his 30s, and that would be awesome. I would love to see it. But I just feel like maybe Deebo's best days might be behind him. And the best of Debo isn't as good as what it was 3 years ago. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see.
I hear you, but I just have one of the reasons why I have this. There's players or that we get frustrated with, or they're not performing a certain way, and there's a certain attitude in which we commentate about them, right?
For sure.
And I need to be completely honest because the elephant is in the room. I'm really rough on Debo, right? I don't give him any cut cards.
No, you don't.
I don't, man. And one of the reasons why I'm so heavy-handed with him is because I think that he could really be a difference maker, bro. I really believe that if Debo stayed in shape, you know what I'm saying? He could play. It's a shame that all of these corners get away with murder because Debo's not in shape. You know what I'm saying? Because he doesn't play hard. If Debo was in shape, playing hard, finishing off his routes, man, he would be a legit problem on all levels. But I feel like we keep moving the goalposts for him, and then we just excuse away the things that we don't get from him, and then we only highlight the things that we like from him. But then what we do is we kind of change the narrative of who he is then, right? Because you can't say he's a receiver because all of the things about him, mostly about him being a receiver, are either good to mediocre. Some of them just flat out bad. right? And you can't call him a running back because his body isn't built for that. He should be like playing at like 205. You know what I'm saying? Like 195. So that's why
He's
I'm
a
roughing.
walk-in highlight, though. I'll give him that. He
Dude,
is a walk-in highlight.
and that's the gift and the curse, right? Because he could just
Right?
stick his foot in the
Yeah.
ground and like immediately, strike the band. And that's kind of like what I think he relies on,
Yeah. I hope we see it, man. I think we both agree that no matter what, we want to see the best of Debo, because the best of Debo helps this team reach the ultimate goal, which is winning a Super Bowl. So that's what we're hoping for, regardless
Hello
of how
world
it
is
comes, right?
hilarious.
That's just regardless. That's what we're looking for. Matt says Jesse didn't know the rules. He is late. Oh, what's the rules? Brother Bob, giving you our take late as hell. What the F? Here's $2. Is that the new tagline? Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we're giving you our take late as hell. Is that?
Giving you your take things out.
Dave Barclay, man, thank you so much, brother. That's very, very kind of you. He says, Coach and Jesse and all the guys in the chat, what is up? Let's get after some good news. Yeah, brother. Thank you so much, man. That is very, very kind of you. Matt says, is Debo training with him or sizing him up? I don't know, man.
That's what I'm saying.
He's with him. That's what I do care about. That's what I do care about. Dave says,
maybe,
you have it. Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe Ricky can put Debo onto some routes. I mean, he's more polished than Debo in route running. I mean, if we're going to keep it tall.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Dave Barclay says, you have amazing peoples in the chat. Be cool if we could meet at a game or something once. Yeah, I always listen, Dave. I always announce the games that I'm going to. So anybody who wants to go to those games and meet up, definitely, I would love to. My DMs are always open.
Too.
Yeah, I'll be at camp for sure. Of course, yeah, I'll be at camp, and then I'll be at the games that I want to go. We'll see with the schedule release, which I haven't heard anything. I thought it might be Thursday, but either way, I want to attend the Chiefs game, the Bucks game. Obviously, that's right down the street for me, and then the Bills game. But we'll see. I mean, maybe one of them falls on Christmas, and then I'm not going to be there. So we'll see. But those are the three that, off the top of my head, looking at it, that's the three that I would like to attend. We'll see, though. We'll see. Matt says, by the way, how you doing, Jesse and Coach? Keep grinding. And my guys, Barclay and BB, keep the chat lit. You guys all keep the chat lit. Appreciate each and every one of you. Dave says, chat is on fire. Everyone is here. Everyone? Everyone.
Literally everyone.
Okay. Literally everybody.
What the hell does the matter with you?
All right. Bleacher Report came out with their power rankings with defenses in the NFL. And they had the 49ers ranked fifth. I mean, this is a team that has been predominantly in the top three. Here's the order that they had. They had the Browns 1, the Jets 2, the Cowboys 3, the Chiefs 4, followed by the 49ers, Ravens, and Steelers. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the rankings of these defenses?
I mean, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at the power rankings, man. They're there for a reason. First of all, they're way too early. So let's just put that out there. Secondly, I agree. Right now we have a couple of holes, right, on defensively. And we have some turnover that we really haven't seen yet. So really the entire right side of the defensive line is new. Out sans Javon Hargraves, right? You have new interior, you got a new 3-tech backup, you got a new shade, the guy we got from Cleveland, and then we have Matus and Leonard Floyd as the new edges. So there's a lot of turnover over there. Also, we got to figure out what we're going to do with riding out with this team throughout the entire year. You know, we're a team that goes for the long haul, and we got to be able to see exactly what this defensive line is going to do, because right now we're kind of missing some stars, man. We're missing some star power and actually some girth and some guys up front, in my opinion. Also, there's some other holes that I feel like haven't necessarily been addressed. Where, what are we going to do about Dre Greenlaw? not being there at that linebacker spot. And how is Fred Warner and whoever backs him up, what is it? Devondre Campbell? Is that his name? The linebacker we got from
Yeah, Devondre.
Yeah. Devondre Campbell is more of like I feel like he's more of a shell of himself from 2021. Also in certain ways, like I feel like he may be kind of like a Taco Charlton signing. Remember when we signed Taco Charlton in the offseason?
Oh, hold on. Can I say this? Taco Charlton came in day one. We were like 6-7 days into camp, and he lit it up, man.
I was crazy.
Like, whoa, this guy should be starting opposite of Bosa the way he looks in these practices. It's wild.
Yeah. So that's precisely what I want to bring up. Like, he looked absolutely amazing when he first got here, but he knows how to practice. He knows what camps look like. He's a vet, but his body was a shell of itself. And lo and behold, he was there as fast as he came, he left, right? Like, he was just nowhere to be found. Devondre Campbell gives me those vibes, right? Where they're trying to strike some old magic from a player who hasn't shown it. And his story is he was used the wrong way. So he's happy to be in a defense where he's going to be utilized the right way. But I got to see it. All right. Then also, speaking of other injuries, what are we going to do about the free safety position with losing Tyshawn Gibson and Huff coming back hurt, right? So we got to understand what we're going to do at that safety position. And I understand that we just got Malik, and I love the Malik Mustafa pick.
Me too.
But we just got to see what he's going to do as a rookie. That's all. I don't really have anything negative to say about the kid. All I'm saying is that we just got to see, right? Also, we got that outside corner position that's at large right now, because in my opinion, I believe the best place to use Diamador Lenore is at the slot. I mean, at that nickel position. I feel like he found his home there. So to keep him on that outside corner position, that could be something that may stifle his growth, right? So we've talked about the defensive line kind of being a sum of all parts and not really having any true interior defensive linemen that we know can stop the run, right? We also talked about the new pass rush that's coming in that we haven't seen work. We've talked about Dre Greenlaw not being there and then replacing him with a veteran who we know is got a very, very thick, we know somebody that has a very, very extensive injury history. You like that kid? You like the way okay. So then we've gone into the injury history of our free safety. Our free safety position, as well as bringing in a rookie there. And then we've got a real competition at that outside corner position. And then once you talk about all of that, we got a new defensive coordinator who's a rookie, right? We've got a first-time defensive coordinator coming in and another guy in Brandon Staley who's coming in. And we're all kind of looking at him like, can you do this? Because honestly, he's the defensive version of Kyle Shanahan, where he has good plans, but once things need like a little bit of context, he falls over himself. So with all of those questions on our defense, I'd say it's pretty generous for them to have us at 5.
Yeah, I mean, the players, I think you still have studs, right? There's a lot of studs on this defense. I take exception with Dallas being 4. They've got a new defensive coordinator, very good defensive coordinator. We'll see. He's a disciplinarian, so we'll see if that changes things over there. But I feel like Dallas's defense they're great against the bad teams, but whenever they actually need to step up, they just never do. Never. It seems like every primetime moment, they just fold in the biggest moments. So I don't know about Dallas being there. However, they had the Ravens and the Steelers behind the 49ers. So no matter how much you want to maybe move Dallas back, you could easily put the Ravens or Steelers possibly in front of the 49ers as well. I think there's an argument to be made. So I don't necessarily have an issue. I think Sen brings up a good point. How are we replacing Eric Armstead? This question A lot of people talk about Eric Armstead as if he's easily replaceable because he's been so injured. But one thing I will say is Eric has been there during these playoff runs. He's always been there during these playoff runs. Yes, he was hurt during this last playoff run. He was also a menace during this last playoff run, just like he was the one before and the one before that. He always played his best football in the playoffs, regardless of what you want to say, if he's getting overpaid or what have you. He always played his best in the biggest moments, and he's always been there for those moments. So really the question is this defense better than last year's? Well, you do have to account for Eric Armstead being there during the moments that matter because he always was, regardless of what it looked like during the regular season, 6-7 game stretches, what have you. Is this defense, when they need it most, is it going to be better? Eric Armstead's a really good player. Regardless, again, overpaid, yes. Still really, really good. And I don't know that they've done a good job replacing him. I can't say that they have. I can't say that they haven't either, but that is a big question mark. And then what are they doing defensively? Who's the actual defensive coordinator? Right? How are they going to solve that issue? It's great that you went and got rid of Wilkes, but as bad as it was under Wilkes, it's still ranked very, very high as far as league standards went, and it still did what it was supposed to do in the biggest game, in the biggest stage. So can we guarantee that those things are going to happen with this new coordinator or these new coordinators? I don't know. So I don't know that it's necessarily worse than last year. I certainly can't say that it's better for sure, though, either. It's just one of those things that is going to have to play out during the season. And this is the great thing about power rankings. They fluctuate every single week based off of what you've just done. Unfortunately for the 49ers, they haven't done anything. It's the offseason. So this is the first iteration of a power ranking.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not mad at the ranking. We have, like you said, we don't know what this team has done, but losing Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, this is one thing that I will say is, sometimes you don't, and this is one thing that Kyle does, and we're going to talk about this later, but sometimes you got to be able to just hit certain height, weight, speed marks. You know what I mean? For your football team, where I understand you want talent. I get it, right? But sometimes you just need the beef to be down there. And for us losing, we could talk about talent.
It's another plausible moment, by the way.
But yes, definitely, beef. I'm just getting back. Okay. Help me out here. Just, indulge me. So look, yo, you're relentless, son. So,
sorry, I do it all the time. The chat calls me out all the time.
What do you want me to say? We need more size? That's crazy right there. So it's like,
go ahead.
Jesus. So it's like we need large men down standing at the line of scrimmage of football. So that's as much. Like, I did say that, Eric. Shut up. So look, what I'm saying is that the size of the athletes that we have matters, especially in the trenches. I understand the talent is always, like Javon Kinlaw is a perfect example. There's a reason why they worked with him. And it wasn't because they believed that one day his talent was going to turn him into like, Haloti Ngata or something. No, it's one of the reasons why that man was playing that position and they worked with him is because of his body, of his size. Like in my position is that we lost a lot of those guys. That's one thing that you really want in the trenches. You just, I hate to put it this way, but sometimes technique really doesn't matter. Like if you're just the bigger man, you're the bigger man, period. So for me, I feel like we lost a lot of that in our defensive line. Like Javon Hargraves is not a large man. You know what I mean? Like you see him on the line of scrimmage and he sawed off. He's wide at the hips. He's not necessarily an oppressive looking athlete. And for me, I don't want that to become a trend on our defensive line. Like, like look at Nick Bosa. Like, yes, his technique is flawless. Yes, he is a relentlessly hard worker, but he looks the part. You know what I'm saying? He plays the part. He's not going to get bitched. You know what I'm saying? So we need that on our defensive line. And I feel like the jury is still out. We got to see.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's impossible to say. I mean, on the surface, it doesn't seem as good, but that doesn't mean that it's not, right? And that's why these things are going to play out. That's why there's so many things that I'm looking forward to in training camp, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what the defensive line looks like. I'm looking forward to watching every single one of these rookies. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. My eyes are going to be going crazy, and it's going to be nice to not focus on the quarterback, just the quarterback position, because that's what everybody wanted to hear about last year. This year, we can focus in on what is actually happening, what's important with this team. What does the offensive line look like? Are they a little bit better with a second year of continuity? What does Purdy look like after his first full real off season? So there's a lot of little storylines that I can't wait for when it comes down to training camp. So I'm certainly looking forward to that. Taryn says, do you really think our defense was that bad under Wilkes, Jesse? I don't. I think it was overblown. I think people way overblew it. I think at times it didn't look great. But when I look at the first year of Robert Saleh, when I look at the first year of D'Amico Ryans, people wanted them fired too. Those things are out there.
Games.
You can easily find them.
You can find that. Yeah. Also, this is a go-to comment. If you look at what Eric Dane said, bro, if they had just kept DJ Jones.
Oh, dude, I wish.
I know, man. Like, that's so true, though. Like, look at what we paid Javon Hargraves. It's like everything with them is like, see, I don't even want to get into the take, but like, that's what I'm talking about. You see what I'm saying? Where it's like, pay the guy. Why? You know why? Because he's going to last. You can't move him, right? And that's what I'm starting to see how they move, man. Like, they don't want guys that are there for the long haul. They don't.
Yeah, we'll see. PDX Niner says, Jesse, any hope for the Blazers? It's been rough. No. No, I wish, man. We'll see. I mean, 2 years from now, it may be a different tune. I think that there's some good things that have happened with the young players. I think they need to move on from Anthony Simons. As much as I like him a lot, he's still very young, but I think they can get something for him. And I just feel like they're a little redundant at the position. So that's the next move I would make. But yeah, I mean, there were some positives from this year, but they're a year away from being a year away. So we'll see how it plays out next year. But rough time to be a Blazer fan right now. PDX Snyder follows up, said the D coordinator experiment is a bad idea. I think that I agree. I think if they had given Wilkes another year,
I would have been mad
that they easily could have held serve and maybe even done a little bit better than they did last year. I don't know. Another new defensive coordinator. I don't know how it's going to go. Now, there was some hubbub about the locker room didn't vibe with them. And if they don't, regardless of what my thoughts are, I think it's stupid because he's been a professional in every step of the way. But if they don't vibe with him, there's nothing that he could have done. I mean, he was a dead man walking the whole time. So giving him another year also doesn't make sense from that side. But I don't know, man. I think Wilkes is more than capable. I can tell you that Carolina Panther fans really were upset. They wanted him to be the head coach last year. He sounds like he was wanting to go with CJ Stroud. They didn't want to go with CJ Stroud.
They're losers.
So exactly. So they moved on. But, ultimately, if they had kept him and gone with CJ Stroud, I think he would have been doing pretty good over there. So I don't know, man. It's tough. I think Wilkes is more than capable. I think he was fine. I just don't know that he was given a fair shake. And that's just the reality of it. Brother Bob says, let's be real. Won't be shocked if the defense regresses. I agree. I won't be shocked. The defense ranked number 3 in scoring last year, if I'm not mistaken. Number 3. So if that's so bad, they got to improve on number 3.
See, but that's what's so sad about losing the Super Bowl, because obviously Coach Wilkes was the scapegoat of why we lost, right? But what sucks about that is that it is there's going to be a section of fans that are going to walk away from this season feeling like the defense underperformed, and quite frankly, there were a lot of areas where we overperformed in areas where we usually are bad, right? Like there was a time where we could not get picks at all. It was just not something we did. And this is when we had our best defenses. I'm talking about 19, 21. Like these are really good defenses where we didn't get picks, right? This year, we damn near led the league in picks. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like we damn near led the league, man. One thing that we really sucked at earlier on was being able to have zone defense within the first within like I think like within the first 10 seconds. I mean, within the first like 10 yards of the play, and we sucked at that. Like pitch and catch, quarterbacks being able to get the ball out on us and just being able to kill us by death by 1,000 cuts. That used to be the blueprint on beating our defense, right? And we ranked like number 1 in the league in that category. Also, one thing about us too is if you can't kill us by death by 1,000 cuts, what was the number 1 way you could get us? You got to go long on the Niners. You got to go deep. You got to go long routes on the Niners. This year, we ranked top in long passes thrown against. Like, so one thing that I've seen is that not only did we have an uptick in things that we weren't necessarily, that we're customarily not good at on our defense, right? But we actually brought in Coach Wilkes for those things that we got better, that we actually were better at. So in my opinion, Coach Wilkes not only was a scapegoat, but he did his job. Like he was brought here to, number 1, right, keep the ship going, right? Because they were talking about him like he damn near was a participation guy, like on the project. Like just keep the defense going, bro. You like we're already here. That's the attitude that they were giving off all season, even in training camp. So really, if they're not gonna, like, think about it, put yourself in that position. If you're not going to let me lead, I might as well just control what I can. You guys suck at secondary, so let me just do that, okay? Everything else I'm horrible at. Everything else you guys got together. You guys do all of that well. So, all right, let me work on zone. Let me work on deep ball accuracy, deep ball of defense with defenders. Like, that's another thing that, like, really killed me on, like, how they talked out of both sides of their mouth. Like, at one point during the season, Charvarius Ward explicitly said that Coach Wilkes was the reason why he was an All-Pro. He was the reason why I am having the season that I'm having right now. That came out of his mouth, right? We lost the Super Bowl near the end. They asked, oh, what does Coach Wilkes do? I don't feel like he really had an impact at all on any of the performance that I had. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, sometimes, like, if you keep the same energy with these guys and, like, listen to what they say and be able to remember when they come out with different commentary, bro. Like I was about to curse. These guys, right? They just go with the flavor of the week. You see what I'm saying? Like they are all about the temperature in the room and they're just trying to match it. These guys are chameleons. So for me, I want to see what Coach Sorensen has. And this isn't even like a thing where it's like, oh, because I think that or we think rather Coach Wilkes was a scapegoat that all of a sudden for some reason we don't want Nick Sorensen to succeed or Brandon Staley to succeed. That's asinine. Like I want him to succeed, but I also want the record to be clear that Nick Sorensen is taking over a defense that actually improved on all of their past defensive categories, which they've struggled with mightily over the years. So if we're not top 3 in passes thrown within 10 yards, if we're not top 3 in deep passes thrown against us, if we're not top 3 in these categories that Coach Wilkes was an uptick for us. Like, I just want fans to keep the same energy. So
I'm actually gonna try to find it real quick. I don't know if I tweeted it. I know I definitely talked about it in a show that I had last year when I was at training camp, but yeah, I can't find it. Either way.
Oh my God. You know what?
What?
Otani interpreter I agree with you.
What
I agree
happened?
with
What did he
you.
say?
I think this is how people see the zero blitz situation. Go to one before that.
Minnesota. He's
Go to
talking
one
about
before that.
Minnesota.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is what sucks. And this is why Coach Wilkes is a G, in my opinion. Right? Because that week, people looked at that as you can't make that call. Right? That's how people looked at that call. Right? But what I saw from a coaching perspective is Coach Wilkes betting on his guy. That's what that call was to me. That wasn't malfeasance. And that was the headline that got put on that. I agree 100% with Otani. If you look at the technique for what it was called, Trevarius Ward was there. Okay? He was there. And it was the right call. Okay? As far as man on, zero blitz, they ran a two-man route concept. It fit. Okay? It's not like they ran four receivers out there, and it's like, dude, what are you doing? That's not even the scenario. You're not even paying attention. You just kind of went in foolhardy. You're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole right now because you're kind of like, telegraphing right now. But it actually was not only a poignant call, but it was a ballsy call. It was saying, like, I trust Trevarius Ward. I trust my corner on the backside slant to be able to close on that, be in the hip pocket, and make a play. And he was there. He just dropped it. He dropped it. So, like, football is such a game of inches, man. Like, if Trevarius Ward picks that off, we're not even talking about Coach Wilkes. Okay? But
No, I agree.
Kyle and those guys, they used that opportunity to pounce, to be able to sow seeds and start dropping breadcrumbs on. If we do lose, this is why. All right. And even in that moment, Coach Wilkes took it as a bad call. He didn't. Do you think, and this is the reason why I give him credit, because Kyle wouldn't have done that. If Kyle would have made a play where he trusted one of his players to make that play, and it didn't work, Kyle wouldn't have said, don't blame this player. Don't blame Debo on that play. Don't blame Christian on that play. Don't blame Brock on that play. You know why? Because I made that decision. All right? You guys got to understand, I put trust in him, and I thought that he was going to make it happen, and I put him in a bad position. All right? So that one's on me. Kyle's never even dipped his toe in that realm of responsibility or accountability. So the fact that I saw that from Coach Wilkes, and he stood up like, "Yep, wasn't a." He even like leaned into the narrative, right? He didn't even start the conversation with like, "Hold on, wait a minute, let me take control of this. We called this; it was the right call. It didn't go down the way we wanted to, but we're gonna try again." That's kind of like the staunch, balanced approach, right? He didn't. He leaned right into the narrative. Yep, bad call. I'll never call it again. It was my fault. Won't happen again. It was highly, unprofessional. And then Kyle, like, he knows what he did. So, like, for me, I want to see it with this defense because I feel like, look, I don't want to get religious or like spooky or anything, but I do believe in karma. I believe in energy. I believe in good and bad. I do. I believe in right and wrong. Okay. I feel like right is right all the way around the world, no matter who you are, no matter what language you speak. And all I'm saying is that the football gods, they got something to say about how we do business over here in San Francisco. And some of the sins that be happening on this team, we have to atone for them. and gaslighting this guy, acting like he was the reason why this defense was bad. I feel like we getting exactly what we asked for. So now all of a sudden, let's see who Kyle's going to throw under the bus now. Come on, Jesse. Let's just call it like we see it. We know it's never going to be Kyle or John. So somebody's got to take the fall if they fail. And they always start plausible deniability early. And most oftentimes it's on the defense because we are a defensively led team with a genius offensive coordinator. But
yeah, but let me say this real quick, because you had your preseason storyline last year was Wilkes was going to be the fall guy. That was literally what you said.
Yes.
You said that you felt like the season wasn't, now you had the season going different, right? Famously had them 8-9, blah, 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 blah. But the bottom line is you felt like they wouldn't achieve the things that they wanted to achieve and that Wilkes would be fired and be blamed for it. That was before the season even started. You were spot on with that.
I said it in August.
I know you did. I actually had tweeted out, this season is not on Brock Purdy. If it doesn't go the way that the 49ers want it to, they better not blame Brock Purdy at all. This is a Kyle Shanahan production, period. What's interesting is I was wrong because they didn't blame Brock Purdy. So I thought the scapegoat was going to be Brock Purdy. You thought it was going to be Wilkes. Why did we even think there was going to be a scapegoat before the season started, though?
Because we knew.
Like, why do we even have to get there?
Because Kyle is never going to take responsibility. That's why. The reason why you even have the scapegoat conversation is because we've seen this story play out season after season after season. The truth is that there needs to be a real audit on the process of how Kyle operates this team as a head coach, B, an offensive coordinator, and C, a /GM and talent evaluator. Those are the things, right? Those are the three top things. And like, if you really want to annex it, it's like the development of Jed, but that's like a whole nother like saga. You know what I'm saying? But for me, that's how I see it. Like, Kyle needs to be assessed as an offensive coordinator and as a head coach. He needs to be able to delegate. I don't think that he organically delegates as a leader. I don't. I think that a lot of his leadership style is overbearing. I feel like, and because there's no HR department in football, these are some things that are kind of like blind spots that persist. And they also get kind of swept under the rug under like machismo, manlyhood, and like do your duty. You know what I mean? Like, there's no real massaging of like process with the 49ers. Like, I don't see that in Kyle's regime, like, case in point, for people who are probably listening to this and saying like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, not Sean Payton, but Sean McVay. Okay. Like, we watched, I sent this in the chat, right? Sean McVay was going through process in the draft, and there was his GM was there. He had some talent evaluators there and some assistant coaches. And what they were doing at the time were trying to make a decision on what they were going to do with the pick. And Sean McVay had his pick in his mind, but the way he delegated as a leader, right? Like the self-confidence that he had in asking the people in the room what they thought, giving them the floor. Hey man, what do you think about this? What should we do? All right. Like, and that clip, as a matter of fact, I wish I could like show the clip to everybody, but he actually got overruled by the room, right? From asking around in the room, and he handled it graciously. Not only did he handle it graciously, but he was on camera. And for me, I would like to see just more of a humanitarian approach to how we handle football, right? Because the old way of doing football is very rigid, okay? It lacks context. It lacks intelligence. And when you kind of move things like a machine, things get dirty, right? Machines are gunky, they're dirty, they get oil. There's processes where things get broken down. And I feel like that's kind of how the Niners are being ran. where we're more in a process where the teams that we're losing to, as far as like the Chiefs are concerned, it's like we're losing to like intelligence. We're losing to an entire process of like knowing how to be adaptable and agile and understand nuance and have trust in things that we do and not care if we fail because we've done everything we could do. Like how we do things is very stifling.
I think this is a great comment. Big City Man says, can Kyle feel the game? I know exactly what you mean by that. I think at times he can, but there are certain times where he definitely doesn't. And it feels like Super Bowl or NFC championships, when they lose, it's like there's a clear lack of feeling for the game. And then John says, Coach Kyle took the blame week 1 after having Colton on an island against TJ. I don't look at these things the same, John. He did. I remember that. But that's very easy to do in a blowout win. And how much blame did he really take? Because who's still starting at right tackle a whole year later, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Let me get through these supers. There's 16 of them. Thank you guys so much. Very, very kind of you. And then we'll get on to this Brock Purdy topic. Brother Bob says, let's be real. Won't be shocked if the defense regresses. I think might have got that one right before. Don't think our D-line is that good and no Greenlaw. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see when Greenlaw comes back. I think he'll be back sooner than people think. Dave says, you guys should know I look forward to your evening shows, especially after Ryan the G crushes it in the mornings. Yeah, I think it's good. You know, you got Ryan in the mornings. I usually come on at night. And then you've got content creators just flooding all over the place. So you're looking for content. It's always there. Dave says, Brother Bob, truth, Greenlaw is the best player on our team. Dude, I watched that Packers 49ers game this weekend. It happened to be on TV, the divisional. He ain't lying, man. He is not lying.
It's like, I'm gonna tell you one thing, and this is, you know why I love Dre, is because Dre is one of those guys where, you know, in order to be an athlete, to like lay it all on the line, you gotta like sacrifice yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I love about Dre is that he's playing, he's like flying so close to the sun that he's like burning himself out. But we get a chance to be able to catch this pocket of time in his prime, right? Where when he doesn't have it anymore, I feel like idiots will say, oh, Dre Greenlaw's washed, right? He's not. But those of us who really know will like really honor him and be like, oh, he's not what he is now. But those 7 years, Dre Greenlaw was an animal on the field. And that's one thing that I respect so much out of like a guy who approaches the game like that, is because it's kind of like, I'm going to the fumes, bro. I'm never going to cheat you. I'm going to go balls to the walls at all times. And whenever this shit goes, it goes. But I love this stuff too much to like half-ass it. And that's what I love about Dre Greenlaw. He doesn't sandbag me. You know what I mean? He gives me everything. And when he don't have it no more, I'm going to lay him down and I'm going to be very gracious. Like that's the fandom that I miss, where now it's like if a guy is nice, he's the world. And if he's not nice, he's mid, he's trash. But it's like there's no respect for noticing a guy that was like, dude, when he was in his prime, he gave us everything. He never cheated us, like all the time. And that's how I feel about Dre.
Yeah. Brother Bob says, yeah, what Dave said. Thank God Nails dropped PP. I didn't drop nobody. It was just time to move on, but I have nothing but good things to say about Larry. I hope
you're being messy, Bob. Come
continues to flourish. Don't
you
do
in the content creator circle now, bruh. You can't be trolling from this. You can't be trolling from the supers no more. It's time, Brother Bob.
Dave says, I didn't know that was the case, Brother Bob. But yeah, now you guys are going back and forth about it.
See?
Eric says, drop a like for the dynamic duo Guy Fieri and Kendrick Perkins. Nice.
Yo, the moment I see you, Eric, I'm flaming you. I don't care if you look like Fabio. I'm finding something. I'm flaming you.
Brother Bob says, offense didn't utilize Jair Brown's Super Bowl pick. What the F? Man, I'll tell you what, that's another thing in that Green Bay game. The 49ers, this offense is very, very, very lucky that Green Bay just wasn't in sync. Everybody talks about that final drive for Jordan Love and how he threw the pick, the wild pick, and all those other things. It was really the 2 drives before that. He had 2 checkdowns. And the way that the zone was being played, I think he thought that a player, in both situations, that the player was in a sit down in the zone. And in both situations, the player kept carrying in the zone. One of them, he ended up throwing behind a player. It got picked by Dre Greenlaw. The other one, he threw behind the player and it got tipped up, and then no harm, no foul. If he connects on both of those, which would have resulted in first downs, the 49ers don't have a chance to win that game, in my opinion. And those were they were right there. I mean, we're talking 3, 4, 5-yard checkdowns. Nobody near the players. It was simply a miscommunication. And going back and watching it, I was like, man, they really got away with one, because we were this close to talking about the most disappointing finish that this team has had. And this is like the mentality that we have as fans, where it seems like we always talk about how they were this close to winning a Super Bowl, but we never talk about how they were this close to being bounced 2 rounds earlier. And that is something that we have to talk about as well. Yes, they were this close to winning a Super Bowl, but they were also this close to being majorly upset by the Green Bay Packers. So it goes both ways.
It really does. I agree with you 100%, Jesse. You know, those games were scary. Really, I understand that Green Bay, I feel like they just haven't been in a lot of big games. So they kind of just got I just feel like there was a lot of moments that were just too big for them. And they didn't understand where they were at the moment. And we'll see, you know, that wasn't a mature team that we played. But Detroit, man, Detroit is scary to me. And the reason why Detroit is scary is because they don't know how good they are. They don't know. They don't understand how potent they really are. All they know is how to play hard. That's it. And when you get a team on that level, that's like the sweet spot. You know, it's like being a parent and having a kid where it's just like he's not an asshole yet. You know what I mean? It's like he still loves you.
Still pure.
Yeah, he's still pure. You know, he's such a cute little boy. He's not a little asshole. And it's like
he's not jaded by the world yet.
Exactly. He hasn't been jaded. Like, you know, he still calls you daddy. You know, and this is when you still have your boy. And then all of a sudden he starts vaping and skipping school and you want to kick his ass every day. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like that's where the Lions are right now, is that they're still innocent. They're still pure in culture. They've never had the type of success that they've had thus far in their careers, not only their careers, but the franchise's history, not only the franchise's history, but the coach's history. So right there, they just have a lot of news. They have like a lot of first time. So for them, the experience is really potent, right? And that's a team that is stupid enough to believe that they're better than us, right? Because they don't know no better. They ignorant. So that's a team that I feel like we really got away with murder, because they came in here like a buzzsaw when they played us last year, bro. And from the position of Dan Campbell not understanding to take points, we clearly could have lost that game. Like, they outplayed us. No question about it. They just couldn't outcoach us. That was the problem. And a lot of that was Dan Campbell's issue. So I'm going to tell you right now, man, Detroit, they're here to stay. That's who I'm worried. I'm more worried about Detroit than I am Green Bay.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Dave says, BB, there is so much more to be upset about. Guys, it really is not that serious. I made an announcement weeks ago stating that my schedule was changing. It's a choice that I made. Has nothing to do with Larry. Larry's just fine in my book. I decided to move in a different direction. Coach is still doing shows with Larry, but don't try to like find the crazy signs. What's going on? Like there's literally nothing more to it than that. It's all good. Dave said, okay, Dave got that one. Cub says, I'm upset right now, Dave. Uh-oh. What's going on? Brother Bob says, side note, wish we could super chat memes or gifts, dude. If you could super chat memes or gifts, it would be a wrap in this chat. Dave says, well, sheet cubs. Well, sheet cubs. Oh, like sheet. I got you. Okay. Dave says, whoa, coach, when has Kyle ever said, no, that was on me? Honestly, he has he ever taken the blame? He has.
One time, yes.
I've talked about it in post games, how he started to go down that path and all those things. But it's, few and far between. And it seems like in the biggest moments, he's less than willing to take the blame on some of those things. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, he what I will say this for the Trey situation, I feel like, how can I say this? There's moments where even Jed has to go to Kyle and say, hey, look, if you don't do this, you're gonna make me look bad. You know what I mean? Like, listen, if you act like this kid just didn't matter to you, like, I get it. You want to look like, you're in control of your team and you want to move on because you have your quarterback. But dude, you have to understand that I allowed you to spend 3 first-round picks to go get this kid. And if you don't look like you have to answer to me in public, that's going to make me look like a real pussy. Like you've gotta be contrite. You know what I'm saying? So there are elements to, how can I say, like Jed and Kyle's relationship where in a way I feel like the elephant in the room is like their relationship is maybe like imbalanced. You know what I mean? Like it's not what we would think it would be between a owner and a coach, right? It's maybe a little too balanced. But I will tell you this, that moment right there let me know that there is a limit. There's a limit. Like they're friends and Jed may capitulate and act like he's cool to just be in the room. But that moment right there showed me that there is a limit where Jed did, or Dr. York maybe did go to Kyle and say, hey, look, I don't give a fuck how you feel about the kid. Right now, our reputation and how we run this organization is on the line. You better make sure you say the right things at this conference. So that I will say there's a limit, but we won't get there much if you got to spend 3 first-round picks to get there.
Hey, Brother Bob says, because it's Kyle freaking Levy. Excuses are coming. Mm-hmm. Brother Bob follows it up, says, only first place win Kyle Levy has is his race to the... I don't even know. I don't know. I don't get that one. Dave says, we can cuss. I can't cuss. Kyle is our problem, Jesse. He built an awesome team and jumped right in front of them in the biggest moments. He is a loser. Jeez.
That's facts.
Holy crap.
That's facts, though. I like that. He jumped in front of them in the biggest moments. That's true.
Well, hold on. I'm going to say this because I did say after the Green Bay game. No. That's funny. I did say this after the Green Bay game that Brock Purdy in that game overcame Kyle Shanahan. I really felt that in that moment. I agree with that. And that's what I said in that post game. They almost had to overcome him again in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And they weren't able to do so. And they also had to overcome some of the best players having the most tragic moments in that game as well. Mm-hmm. And they weren't able to do it, unfortunately. So all the guys that everybody props up, Kyle Shanahan, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, those were the guys that weren't stepping up in that moment. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. And ultimately, it was just too much. It was an insurmountable thing, and they couldn't overcome it. So Dave says, I must be on a little kid chat allowances of letters. It won't let you cuss. That's weird. Dre is my annual jersey this year. I was going to get the Super Bowl jersey, but what are we going to do? My grandma died the year before, and her favorite number was 57. So it has two reasons for the dude. I love
Get
that.
it, man. That's
That's a
awesome.
great,
Get
yeah,
it. Yeah,
that is awesome.
that's dope.
Dave says, Jess, we're talking about Super Bowl. I get it. Brother Bob says, Dave, got it. I was angry over not using Brown's interception. That was such a turning point in that game, man. It could have been. Dude, you got whoa. PDX Niner says, Kyle, I disappoint my father, Shanahan. My goodness. Brother Bob says, oh, dude, come on. Just not doing it. I'm not doing it, Brother Bob. You're so wild, man. So wild. All right, let's talk about these quarterback rankings. So there was an article written. So much like Sports Illustrated has like a smaller company that kind of feeds into it, where their writers are associated through. USA Today has a similar one. I think it's called like Daily Wire or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, Jarrett Bailey, who I know I've seen a lot on Twitter, he's not afraid to have a take that is very different. He wrote an article talking about the quarterback rankings, and he had Brock Purdy at 16. And then Doug Gottlieb came out and said that he believes there's 15 quarterbacks that if they were in this same offense, the offense would operate at just as high of a level, if not higher than it does with Brock Purdy. So it's almost like two people on completely different spectrums came out and have Purdy ranked 16, essentially. So before we get into actual rankings, just on the surface, too high, too low, like what are your thoughts when you hear Brock Purdy 16th best quarterback in the NFL?
Well, I looked at the article, right? And
I'll give you the list. Should I give the list real quick?
Yeah, that'd be dope. I mean, I can give it to you
Okay.
right now if you want to, but like I looked
got
at the
it.
article. Okay, go ahead.
He had Mahomes 1, Allen 2, smart guy. He's good so far, right? Burrow 3, Herbert 4, Stroud 5, Stafford 6, Lamar 7. That's where I think he's getting squirrely. Love 8, Rodgers 9, Lawrence 10, Dak
Trevor
11.
Lawrence?
Yeah, 10. Dak 11, Cousins 12, Goff 13, Hurts 14, Kyler 15, and Purdy 16.
Jalen Hurts at 14. Are you high?
Yeah. So he's. By the way, there's a lot of. It's hard, man. It really is hard to crank out a list because it changes so often. Like there's so many factors that go into this. You could really make a case for 6 or 7 guys to be the 10th guy. You know what I mean? It's
all right.
anyways.
I just all right. Look, so Patty won, even with Aaron Rodgers. Let's say Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll say that because the truth of the matter is like if Aaron
We
Rodgers,
don't know.
Right? We don't know, right? His ass could be at scraping the bottom of the barrel. So I would go Patrick Mahomes. If Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers, okay?
Yeah.
I go Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. Okay. All right. Then I'd go just Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. Then that's close. Okay. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. Then I'd go Matt Stafford. Then I'd go Lamar. Okay. And that's either or, right? Take what you will with that. All right. Then after Matt Stafford, Lamar, I'd go CJ Stroud. All right. After CJ Stroud, then I would go Brock Purdy. All right. Then after Brock Purdy, I'd go Kirk Cousins.
So hold on. So you have, is that 9? Mahomes,
yeah,
Allen,
I got Brock
Burrow,
Purdy at like 9.
Herbert, Stroud, Stafford, Lamar, Rodgers, Purdy at 9. Okay, all right.
Purdy at 9. All right.
Okay.
Then after Purdy, I'd go Kirk Cousins. I'd go Dak Prescott. Then I'd go Trevor Lawrence. They're giving Trevor Lawrence way too much love for no reason. All right. Then after Trevor Lawrence, I'd go Jordan Love because Jordan Love is better than Trevor Lawrence. Just eye test, but he hasn't done it enough. One more season, Jordan Love is clearly better than Trevor Lawrence, in my opinion. But then after Trevor Lawrence, I go Jordan Love. Then I'd go Goff. Then I'd go Murray. Then I'd go Hurts. But throughout this entire time, I'm not putting Jalen Hurts in front of any of these guys because I don't think Jalen Hurts is a real quarterback. So, and honestly, even if I would go Hurts, I think that Hurts would be like fighting between like Tua, Kyler Murray, and Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, Hurts is an interesting one to me. I remember last year, speaking of Larry, I was doing a show with Larry, and we were talking about the Eagles, and I said something about I said something like, I'm not sure on Hurts yet. And he's like, you're not sure on Hurts? He's like, after that unbelievable year, and I said, no, it's just it hasn't been enough. Like my rule is normally 3 years, but there's always something, like there's always the exception to that rule, right? And when a guy wasn't good for 2 years and then was really, really like over the top good for one, it's like, can I see it again before I fully make a decision on what a guy is? And then we saw it and it wasn't good again. It's like, okay, so 3 out of 4 years, it wasn't good. Mm-hmm. Like I have to go lean towards that's the rule and not the exception. You know what I mean? And he accounts for a lot of touchdowns because of the tush push and all those other things. So here's my list. I have Mahomes 1, Allen 2, Lamar 3, Burrow 4, Herbert 5, Stafford 6, Stroud 7. I have Rodgers and Cousins in here at 8 and 9, assuming they can get back to most of their form. They're both coming off of major Achilles injuries. Okay, so these guys could easily fall out, right? And I could see it. Now, Rodgers, go ahead.
Okay, so the reason why I push back against Kirk is because he hasn't done shit. So we're not talking about like the reason why I'm adding these guys like CJ Stroud, for instance, is in the conversation for me is because of what he's doing in the position of the career that he's in right now, right? He's a rookie doing this stuff, right? So that's why CJ Stroud is in the category that he's in. But what success has Kirk Cousins had with his attributes? Not much. That's why I don't have Kirk Cousins better than a lot of these guys because, in my opinion, Kirk Cousins is just redundancy. In my opinion. But I could be wrong.
Listen, when you say success, you're clearly just talking about like what he has or has not done in the playoffs, right? Which is fair, I guess.
It's quarterback. This is the NFL, bro. This is kind of like
I get it. Listen,
that shit matters.
It does, but also so does context. Context does too. Like when they lost to the Giants 2 years ago, dude, Kurt had himself a day. The defense couldn't stop. The Giants put up like 30, almost 40 points or whatever it was. The Giants offense put up almost 40. That's how bad that defense was. Kirk played a really, really good game. Really, really good game. And they just couldn't overcome it. They couldn't win. I think they also had like 4 fumbles in that game. I don't know. Just weird stuff. The point is that Kirk, though, has been doing it for a very long time in this league, put up very good numbers on multiple teams. If he does it again with the Falcons, it's like, okay, how many coaches and how many teams do you have to see this guy throw for 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns on before you just say, Kirk's pretty fucking good? Like at some point, like you just have to acquiesce and say he's good. People talk about the primetime games and all these other things. Well, some people love the EPA stat. I know there's a big section that watches a certain somebody, and that's all he talks about. So let's talk about the EPA stat. The EPA stat has him as a top 10 clutch player over the last 5 seasons. So that's the facts. In the final 5 minutes of a game, 1 score or less, he's produced at a high level according to EPA. Now, I'm not the biggest EPA guy. I think a lot of that is a team thing, but some people get into the EPA, so I'll throw that out there for you. But the other thing is this. I watched Kirk Cousins without his best receiver, clearly less talent on the field than what Brock Purdy had, and I watched him and Brock Purdy play on the same field together. And I didn't come away from that game saying Brock Purdy at this moment is better than Kirk Cousins. Now, a week or two later, Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles. That obviously can change things. I don't know what it's going to look like this year for Kirk Cousins, but if Kirk Cousins, I'm just going to assume he's fully healthy until I see that he's not. When I watched those two guys on the field, Kirk Cousins was clearly the better quarterback. He was. So I can't put Brock above him.
I don't think Kirk Cousins is better than Brock Purdy.
Well, who was the better quarterback that day?
Kirk Cousins.
Who was going against the tougher defense and who had less weapons?
Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
Context matters, right? Like the same way you want to.
Yeah, give me the context.
I mean, right. Like the same way you want to illuminate that context, I can also bring up the fact that that was literally the best primetime game that Kirk Cousins has ever had in his career. Like that was the definition of lightning in a bottle, right? That was like an occurrence, because the reason why it was such an occurrence is Kirk Cousins is notorious for shitting the bed in primetime. Like we know this. And when the lights are the hottest, Kirk Cousins is the smallest. And the reason why is because Kirk Cousins is a serviceable quarterback, and his serviceable play at quarterback and him being able to process very well as a quarterback has served him well in a league that has been diluted into pass offenses. I don't necessarily think that Kirk Cousins is like a game changer. I think he's a stopgap.
I don't either.
Yeah, I think he's a stopgap.
I wouldn't pay Kirk Cousins, and I've said he's not a franchise guy.
But Kirk Cousins is dead.
How
How old is Kirk Cousins? Like 35?
He's 36, I think.
Hey, Google, how old is Kirk Cousins?
35 years old.
Yeah, so he's 35, right? So if Kirk Cousins is 35, right, and we're still looking at him as like basically like a starter mid-pack, like for like a quarterback, then he is what he is. He's not going to get better. The only thing about him is that he knows how to like polish the process.
But hold on, because I feel like you're changing the question. Hold on though. If the question is who are you starting a franchise with, Kirk Cousins or Brock Purdy, this is easy. This isn't even close.
Brock Purdy.
It is Brock Purdy. But the question is who's better right now, right? Not who's tapped out, and we know what Kirk Cousins fully is. And at this moment, when I say this moment, when they met head to head, we saw what it looked like. And at that moment, Kirk Cousins was better. Now, again, changing teams, Achilles injuries, sure. Absolutely. I could easily see a scenario where I come in halfway through the season and be like, Brock Purdy has surpassed Kirk Cousins. It is now clear that Brock Purdy is better, but I have to go off of what they have been to this point. And to this point, Kirk Cousins has proven a lot in this league that he can put up big time numbers. And here we go. Here's his last game in the playoffs. 31 of 39, 80% completion percentage, 275 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Look, man. You want to find good numbers for Kirk, you can find good numbers for Kirk, man.
I'm just saying it hasn't always been bad in the playoffs. It's not like you know what I mean? Like,
but we're talking about
a player plays well and the team loses. Like those things happen.
On one hand, we're talking about a 23-year-old kid. How old is Brock? 22? 23?
I understand that, but the question is not who are you taking for long term. It's who's better right now.
All right,
those are very different questions.
But that doesn't play, Jesse, because you can look at somebody for who's better right now, but you're not necessarily invested in what's going to be better in the long run. Like if Kirk Cousins is better than Brock Purdy right now, that doesn't mean that you can't look at Brock Purdy and say, I'm still betting on Brock, right? Why? because you can chart progression on what these guys have been doing throughout their careers. You can look at Kirk Cousins and see what he is now, which is a finished product, right? But Kirk Cousins was not Brock Purdy coming out of Michigan State. Kirk Cousins was struggling. He wasn't better than RG3 first coming out. And when he did finally get the reins, he was a pick machine all over the place. It took a while for Kirk Cousins to find his legs. And really the biggest reason why Kirk got paid the money that he did is because Washington didn't sign him when they should have. He put himself in a really good position where Minnesota needed a quarterback, and he's been mid ever since he's been in Minnesota. Brock came off the bench.
Curtis put up some numbers in his career now. Come on, man.
Dog, the NFL is a track meet now, man. And not you, my brother, but I don't give a fuck about numbers, bro. I don't care about numbers no more because the league is a track meet, bro. Right now, you can show me tons of numbers.
I'm not comparing. Look, I agree. I'm not comparing him. I'm not comparing him to guys from the 80s, though. I'm not saying, oh, well, see, Kirk Cousins was better than Joe Montana. Look at the numbers. That's not the conversation that we're having. I'm comparing him to players that he's playing against that are also in the same era, and he's put up big time numbers. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, well, I mean, Brock broke the 49ers record this year. Like, okay, that was like the 27th best passing record across the NFL team-wise. Kirk Cousins would have broken that thing sixfold if he was in.
All right. So look, I got something for you then. Christian McCaffrey was the leading rusher in the NFL this year, bar none, not even close. Okay. Mm-hmm. Did he look like the leading rusher in the NFL in the Super Bowl?
No.
Hell no.
I guess not.
Come on. So numbers are just dead stats, in my opinion. They're an accumulation of what has already been done. You can read them any way you want to. But for me, I look at the eye test first, and then I look at for the numbers to corroborate what I've seen.
Right. And the eye test has always told me that Kurt has been wildly underrated, and the numbers back that up.
The eye test has told me that Kirk is a stat farmer, and he's overrated in my opinion.
Overrated, bro. Nobody
overrated.
Would put him
in the top. What has he done but get paid guaranteed money and be Kyle Shanahan's boo? What has Kirk Cousins really done? Honestly, I don't see it, Jesse. Help me out. Throwing for 4,500 yards for what? To take your ass home every year?
We're comparing him to a guy that also hasn't won a Super Bowl. So two guys that haven't won a Super Bowl. One guy's been doing it.
You're gonna have
one guy's been doing it for 10 years.
Defending Kyle Shanahan in here. Kyle, Jesse. All right. So look, if you ain't never been to the Super Bowl, and I've never been to the Super Bowl, but I've lost the Super Bowl 3 times, and your ass has never sniffed it, those are two completely different things. Like, come on, son. Like, come on, Jesse. The fact that Kyle has never won a Super Bowl.
Kyle literally was crying. I had to lock myself in a room and get over it for a few days when I found out we weren't getting Kirk. Come on, man. That was out of his mouth, not mine. I didn't say that.
Kirk is overrated, in my opinion. Right?
I don't think that's possible, because I would say that most people you talk to think Kirk's not a very good quarterback. And I think that Kirk is a lot better than most people would have it said. Guarantee. Right. Like if I went, and again, this is not a way to necessarily who's the best quarterback, right? But it is something fun. If I were to blind stat test him versus a lot of players in the league, a lot of people would be picking Kirk Cousins over their favorite quarterbers. I'm just
all of them mid-ass 4,500 yard seasons that he threw for. I get it.
How do you have a mid 4,500 yard season?
Because you don't win. That's how you have a mid 4,500 yard season.
Passer in the league this year barely cracked 4,500 yards. How do you have a mid season at 4,500 yards?
I'm just saying he's not my cup of tea at quarterback. You know what I'm
saying? That's fine. And
I want a quarterback that fucks the prom queen, not does my taxes.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But the argument is not who I'm taking and who am I projecting to be better in 2 seasons, 3 seasons. It's right now in this moment, who do I believe is better? if Kirk Cousins looked like he did last year, Kirk Cousins is better right now. Now, I can't guarantee he will look like that. Again, he might fall off a cliff coming off of an injury. Aaron Rodgers, same thing. He might also fall off a cliff coming off of a major injury. But what I can say is the last time that I saw it, which is the most recent time, happened just this year, Kirk Cousins was clearly the better quarterback on the field. Clearly. He was going against the better defense, and he had the worst weapons and was the better guy, and it wasn't even close. So there's a gap that has to be made up, in my opinion, before I could say Brock Purdy in this moment is better than Kirk Cousins.
In my opinion, I bet on ceilings. That's why I was so frustrated with this year's draft. But I bet on ceilings and forecasting. Like
I do too when we're looking long term.
Being able to scout a guy and tell me what you see.
We're talking about this. You're the same dude that just put Aaron Rodgers in your top 3, my guy. Talk about forecasting. A 40-year-old quarterback who wasn't very good his final year in Green Bay.
I said if Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers, I prefaced that.
But the last time we saw Aaron Rodgers wasn't Aaron Rodgers. That was pre-injury too.
All I'm saying is that, look, you look at what Kirk Cousins brings to the table, and like I said, I forecast, and you could tell me what you see from a player, and that's not really moving the needle because everybody knows football. I believe that, and the real expertise, or is when you're able to forecast and say what the player is going to be. When I look at Brock and I look at Kirk Cousins, I see the ceiling of Kirk Cousins. With Brock being able to do what he did fresh off the bench. If Kirk Cousins would have came out of Michigan State, as a matter of fact, this happened to Kirk Cousins. If Kirk Cousins had to come and just get thrown onto the field, all right, and had to win 8 games in a row, lead a team to the NFC Championship, I don't believe that was anywhere in the realm of what Kirk Cousins was at that stage of his career. So for me,
we're not comparing 24-year-old Brock Purdy versus 24-year-old Kirk Cousins. That is not the question. The question is, right now, in this moment, who's the better player right now? Not next season, the season after, not who's going to be better overall for their career. Who's the better quarterback in this moment right now? I feel like you're conflating 2 completely different things to come up with an opinion.
But it's hard for me to do. I know what you're trying to do, but it's hard for me to do that when Kirk Cousins has all of this polish. I feel like the conversation is just really skewed towards your narrative. Kirk Cousins has all of the polish. Kirk Cousins has all of the years. He has all of the time on task. So yes, if you just looked at them like without the names on the jersey, I'll give you that. Yes, Kirk Cousins would be the better quarterback. But Kirk Cousins is only one fucking playoff game. All right? And that ain't shit compared to what Brock Purdy has done. And I've seen Brock Purdy do way more shit that if Kirk Cousins did, we would be over the moon if Kirk Cousins closed games the way Brock Purdy does. And all I'm saying is that, yes, if you look at them one-to-one without names on their jerseys, you would pick Kirk. You would say, this is the more polished quarterback. He's got a stronger arm. He's more accurate. I get all that. But if you take the narrative, the context of the 2 players, I'm taking Brock over Kirk Cousins all day, every day.
Well, but hold on. What you're saying plays, but again, you're conflating 2 things because the draft, you brought up the draft. This is why I wasn't a fan of the Pearsall pick. Pearsall right now, if I take him and look at his polish and compare him to some of the other players that could have been selected there, Pearsall clearly has the polish right now, right? But the draft is about projecting, especially when those guys aren't going to see the field a lot in year 1. That's when you do have to project. So right now, that's the case. But in 2 years, I'm pretty confident that's probably not going to be the case. And that's where I'm frustrated with the pick at 31. But that is different than what we're doing here for this exercise, which is we're going off of what a gentleman has ranked his quarterbacks in this moment right now. He has Purdy at 16. We both agree that's way too low.
That's low.
But in this moment, not knowing what Kirk is going to look like coming off of an injury, I just have to assume that when he takes the field, he will be healthy. And if that is the case, and then he'll look like he did last year, and Kirk Cousins was on his way putting up monster numbers. The best of his career, actually, I think he was on pace for. And damn near carrying not a good Vikings team to the last playoff spot. They were on their way to that before he got injured. They were starting to hit a stride without Justin Jefferson. The defense was atrocious, and they were on their way, and then he tore his Achilles. But that Kirk Cousins, compared to the last time we saw Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins is better in this moment. He just is.
All right. Okay, so let's round it up, because I don't want this to become like a rabbit hole conversation where like the show devolves, because we can't let this go.
Right. Okay.
I will say this. If I'm being fair to you, and you know what? Kirk Cousins has never had a team like Brock Purdy, right? That he's never had this many weapons. He's never had this much support. And look, I will say that for what Kirk has done throughout his career and the success that he's had on his team, he's done it with much less than what Brock Purdy has. So that much I will concede.
But I'll say this, another player who I think is in this similar conversation, Jared Goff, right? Who's also put up some good numbers. He's made it to a Super Bowl, an NFC championship. He's been in the Pro Bowls, all those other things. I would take Purdy over Goff, because one thing I do see from Goff is that when he's pressured, he crumbles. He literally crumbles in the pocket. Kirk will at least stand in and take a shot and deliver. Mm-hmm. Right? That's something that we've seen Purdy do. That's something I like about Purdy.
Kirk is a quarterback.
Goff's not going to do that. Goff's not going to do that. And I think that Goff and Cousins, similar to each other, I am willing to decipher and say, hey, just because this guy's been in the league and done it longer, I'm not necessarily putting him above Purdy, who's been here less. In this moment, I would take Purdy over Goff because of the crumbling in the pocket, right? And so for me, 10 gets really tough. You've got Purdy, Goff, Love, Dak, Lawrence, Hurts. To me, like, that's a tier. And however you decide you want to go with it, I'm comfortable with. That's fine.
I just think Brock has one. I think Brock is better than all. I think I'll take Brock over all of them for the success.
And in this moment, I agree. So I've got Purdy at 10. But would I be shocked just as much as I wouldn't be shocked if Purdy's better than Cousins and Rodgers because they're coming off an injury and they just never get it back? I wouldn't be shocked. But I also wouldn't be shocked if the talent of Love and Lawrence get their ish together and surpass Purdy. I wouldn't be shocked by that either.
Okay, all right. You know, I'm about to hit you with it. Relax. The only reason why I feel like Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence are finally going to get the bump is because they got the height weights. They're getting the height weight speed tax where everybody's kind of like, dude, they're 6+, they're 6 foot plus, their arms are big, like what they can do. Let's just wait out for what they can do because they look good in their uniforms. Like, but the truth is that if you go with proof of concept, Brock Purdy is better than both of them.
Oh, out of here. He's not better than Herbert. Stop. I'm not doing this with you. I am not having the Herbert fucking Purdy conversation. It is not close. It is not close. These two are not in the same stratosphere as each other. I will take him over Lawrence. Lawrence has all the same things as Herbert. I'll take him over Lawrence. I ranked him ahead of Lawrence.
Brock Purdy over Trevor Lawrence.
But him and Herbert are not. Herbert is not in the same stratosphere as Lawrence either. They are in completely different realms right now.
They're not. Hold on. So Trevor Lawrence is I really believe that Trevor Lawrence is overrated.
He hasn't done much. I mean, even on the statistics side, right? Like we're literally going off of a guy who had a good year, he had a comp to be an all-time great, right? A lot of people thought he was that dude. And so he's living off of that. But if he doesn't perform this year, I mean, there's really no difference between him and Hurts at that point. There isn't. Right?
Okay, so if there's no difference between Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts, and we clearly believe that Brock Purdy is better than Jalen Hurts, then what are we talking about?
No, that's what I said. I've got what I said was in this moment, I have Purdy ahead of Goff, Love, Dak, Lawrence, and Hurts.
Okay,
but I wouldn't be shocked if Purdy surpasses Rodgers and Cousins this year because they just never get it back. I also wouldn't be shocked to see the talent of Love and Lawrence take over and eventually be those guys either. And Love is right there. It's not like the Love thing is not that crazy to talk about. Love's played really good down the stretch last year. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just part of this is like me just being facetious because I feel.
And the funny thing is we just got in this big hubbub. You had him at 9 and I have him at 10. Like we're one spot away.
We're literally one spot away. I have him at 9 because I feel like, how can I say this? Like, as time goes on, we're just gonna have to start respecting how this kid gets the job done. Right? That's all I'm saying. If he's consistent, you do have to start recognizing
but hold on a second. Can we acknowledge that we're already there? We both just put him in our top 10. Like, okay, come on.
I like that. Like, well, I'm just saying,
I know that people want like the glazing and he's a lead. And if you don't say he's a lead, you're a hater and all that. But listen, the bottom line is the fact that he's even in this conversation shows that we acknowledge what we have seen and we like what we've seen. Now, people are going to be pissed because, oh my God, he said he's not better than Herbert, but what has Herbert done in the playoffs? Blah, 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 blah. That's what people are going to take from the conversation. But the reality of the situation is when you're talking about guys that are top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, putting anybody near the top 10 is a sign of respect, in my opinion. So people can run with the narrative and do whatever they want. But the fact we're even having this conversation shows that there's respect for what Brock Purdy has done.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Like, but I'll just say this, man. Like, with the players involved in the top in the rankings, man, like the consistency that Brock is giving, after a while, it's gonna have to be like, this is how he gets his job done, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and his way is the new way. You know what I mean? Like, nobody knew Drew Brees was Drew Brees until he was. And like, and one thing that until he became that, and one element of this that I feel like is being missed is like, look at how we're talking about Aaron Rodgers. Like, look how we're talking about Kirk. Like, Kirk is coming off of a serious injury. We don't even know what Kirk is going to be. And we're sitting here arguing about where he's going to be, right? Look at how much grace we're giving Aaron Rodgers, right? Like, yo, if Aaron Rodgers can still be Aaron Rodgers, he deserves to be in this conversation. Well, can you imagine, I understand there's a possibility that he could regress, but Brock is going to be better too.
Oh, I think Brock's going to be better. I agree. Yeah.
Like, he's not going to come
and
back.
Not even necessarily statistically. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's going to come back stronger. You see all those fake ass photoshops on Twitter of him?
It's so funny.
It's the funniest shit ever.
Really funny, actually. That's actually really funny.
You know what I'm saying? Really, but Brock has got an off season too. So for me, one thing that I know that this kid can do, like in his sleep, is process. Brock can process. Brock knows exactly where to go with the ball on the field. And if he actually gets a chance to like work on his body to catch up with his mental, you can see a whole nother player this year. So it's possible as well, Jess.
No, absolutely. Again, this is like the defensive power rankings. I'm not like in this thought that it can't change.
Right.
I could see Brock moving up the list. I could see Brock staying flat because other people move down and then but other people jump him. I could see, you know what I mean? I could see a lot of things happening. I could see, listen, as much as I like CJ Stroud, I love CJ Stroud. I
Love
loved
me
him coming out of
CJ.
the draft. I love every attribute that he has. I love his out of this world accuracy, all those things. But CJ Stroud is only 1 year in too, right? Like we
He can
we're
get better.
assuming that CJ's going to do this. But what if it does this or does this? We don't know. We don't know. It's too early to know for sure. So it looks great now, but literally anything can happen. So I don't know, man. That's there's a lot that can change with all of this. So we'll see.
100%,
But
bro.
right now, we both got him in our top 10. So
Mhm.
I think that's a pretty cool spot for him to be at.
I think he deserves to be there. Super Bowl quarterback. He went there. He's been deep in the playoffs twice. Got yanked off the bench. Fucking lights out since he came on. Like, leader. And there's something to be said about a quarterback who's a leader on a team that's already established. You got to kind of have like a real sense of self and be grounded to be able to do that. So I love where Brock stands right now. Honestly.
I'll say this though too, and I agree with this comment. If we don't see Purdy calling audibles, it means Kyle is not evolving to his game. That was a big difference in Jordan Love. And a lot of people were early on in the season were talking about how Jordan Love, it's like, oh my gosh, like they moved on from Aaron and what's it going to look like? And then all of a sudden, Jordan Love started looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the league and did so for the whole second half of the season. Upset Dallas, almost was able to help upset the 49ers. And a big part of that was because LaFleur trusted him to make those changes at the line of scrimmage. So
Yeah.
for me, it's like, why can't, I mean, if Purdy's best thing is his mental game and we can all agree there, why not let him do those things? I agree with this.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what we talked about earlier on in the show, is that the main issues are always going to remain the same, and that is Kyle Shanahan's process with coaching, um, as a head coach, his offensive coordinator process of not having one, and his evaluation performance. So really, look, quarterbacks go before coaches do, right? This is the only team where we have planned obsolescence, right? But really, on traditional teams, quarterbacks last longer than coaches. And I feel like that is kind of like the proverbial, like, immovable object versus the unstoppable force that's coming as a collision course on this team, where the love and the fandom and the support for Brock Purdy at some point is going to run up against the support of Kyle Shanahan.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have to be able, that's the huge question, or that's what I see coming up, where we're going to have to answer that question. So
Absolutely.
who do you love?
Let me fire through these. There's, I don't know what happened while we were talking.
We got 44 super chats, bro.
There's 44 super chats, dude. This is wild.
So we're just going to close the show out with super chats.
Yeah, we need to. So, but that's good. You've got a take that you want to give. You can give that with Ryan or Grant, because I think it's a really good take.
Yeah,
I want to get to it, but dude, this is. Let's
go. This is awesome. This is great.
Dave says you guys got another hour in you. At this point, it looks like we might. And I agree with Coach. Jalen Hurts at 14. I mean, I am high, but not that effing high.
Right.
There was a couple. I mean, the Kyler Murray one. But listen, Kyler Murray's got a ton of talent. There's no denying Kyler Murray's talent. But dude, he was out of the league for almost a year. Before that, he got his coach fired. Like, dude, I gotta see something from Kyler. Like, he's uber talented. I agree. Talent level is like, yeah, he's here, but man, I gotta see something
Murray
from
has
Kyler.
More raw talent than Jalen Hurts.
Kyler Murray's got more raw talent than probably every quarterback outside of 7 or so in this league. If we're keeping it a real buck.
Right. Okay. Because as far as Kyler Murray, because he's short, I feel people don't really
No.
understand.
Bro's
But
got
this
the
kid is
arm.
on like
He's got
some
the
Michael Vick shit.
speed. He's got,
Yeah.
listen.
Like people don't really get it. Like if Kyler Murray was 6 foot tall, he'd be Michael Vick or Lamar Jackson. Like he'd be
Yeah.
one of those.
Yeah. I mean, he's uber talented, but again, and people get mad. Oh, Jesse only goes for the talent. That's what it. No, that's not it. Because if I did, then I would have Kyler Murray way up there. But
Right.
there's more to it than that. Brother Bob says I should log off, but let me open some wine. F it. All right, fair enough. Dave says, come on, Brother Bob. Let's give these guys a reason to carry on longer. Kick back with that glass of wine. Coach is on point again. Hurts is the tush push. I see nothing else from him. Good thing he squats a lot, right? Brother Bob says, Dave, you right. I missed the QB list getting wine ready.
Are we
You can
really
go back.
I got a feeling that these super chats is going to be their conversation.
Back and forth. Yeah, it is, but you got to do it. Matt says Stroud needs to do it for more than a year. I completely agree.
I agree with that.
Completely crown him. And that's why it's a power ranking. And this thing it can fluctuate.
I agree with that, Matt.
But here's what I will say. This is why the Jalen Hurts thing, the same reason I don't believe in Jalen Hurts is the same reason I do believe in CJ Stroud. Jalen Hurts had to transfer from Alabama, get his career back on track, go to Oklahoma, do his thing. Then it wasn't good for a couple years, and then it was really good, and now it wasn't very good again. CJ Stroud has been that deal forever. He was that deal in high school. He was that deal in college at a big time school.
Talk about it.
And he's that deal again in the NFL. So every single level, he's been that deal. So if he fell off, that would be surprising to me. But it still is just 1 year. So I agree. Dave says, play it again, Jess and coach for Brother Bob. No, I'm not doing it again. I know, dude. It's not good. I shouldn't be. I hate it. I've got a sharp tongue. I try my best on this show to hold it back, but sometimes it gets the best of me. That's like the one thing I really would like to clean up is that. But definitely, if I get fired up, an F-bomb will fly from time to time. Brother Bob says, let me sip and rewind. Whoa, Sheets catching strays. I'm Sheets Jr., so it doesn't matter. Dave says, after dark for real. Matt says, Jesse said F. Yes, I did. Matt also says wins and losses is a team stat, not a QB stat. Yeah, I did. I get fired up when we get into these like debates, and I'll definitely drop an F-bomb from time to time.
My guy.
Dave says new ratings, new show, fellas. R for language. Yeah, you're right. This is one of them. Sorry for those. I know there's some people watching. They're like, man, you're really family friendly, and that's what I love about you. I'm really sorry. Dave says,
I didn't know that. So you got here I am with the potty mouth. You got people that really like
like we'll be in my chat, be like, me and my son watch it together. Yeah, dude. So I hate to be that guy. Like I don't want to be that guy.
I feel like a complete degenerate now, like knowing that this. All right, bro. Dang, I didn't know that. Okay.
No. We both got to do a better job.
I will clean it up. Now I feel horrible. I feel like a prostitute right now, just dirty.
Yeah, well, that way to keep it clean. Dave says, do you guys see the loyalty in this chat? I do. You guys are way too kind. Way too kind. Brother Bob says, I didn't even say anything really bad about him, but you S on Sheets, they both deserve it. I said it. That was Snooth with Google coach like that. Smooth with Google, I think is what he meant to say. I didn't ish on him. I said that he likes to use EPA. That's like the stat that he stands behind. I disagree with it, but a lot of people watch him and they take it as gospel. So I got to use EPA. I got to use EPA. I don't get EPA either. Anyways, Matt says, hey, Google, did Jesse say F? Fake news. You're right. I didn't say it. I didn't say it. You like what I did there? Dave says, get him, Brother Bob. Google on fire. Jesse gets after it and after dark, loses control, throws the hat, says fire Kyle and hire Steve Young and storms off. Google claims fake news. Dave Barclay, you had to be there. God, that's a whole story. Matt says Kirk ever had a stingy defense. It matters.
That's true,
No.
Matt. You know what, Matt? I stand corrected. I was kind of dug in with my Kirk take, but Kirk has not had the teams that Brock Purdy has been able to play with. That's true. I agree.
Matt says I take Kirk over Dak, and Kirk is a top 10. Thank you.
There is no argument. We all take Kirk over Dak.
The second part of the comment is really what it is, though. Kirk is the top 10 gatekeeper.
He is the top 10.
If you're better than Kirk, you're top 10.
Yes.
Like, let's keep it a stack.
This is the most goated comment of the show.
It really is. Yeah.
Because that really puts our argument to bed. We can both agree on that. Kirk Cousins is the top 10 gatekeeper.
He is.
He's the
If you're better than Kirk, you're top 10.
Bridge. Yes.
It's so true. It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Brother Bob says, I have to agree with the black-white guy on this one. Did you just... What? Dave says, headlines, Kirk is almost as old as me. Not good.
Talk your shit, Dave.
I agree. Didn't we just have this talk about a family show and us cleaning it up? Come on, man.
I'm learning.
I'm learning. Matt says, Brother Bob, there is no white guys here. What? You guys are wild. This is like brewing. This whole thing is going. Dave says, Brother Bob, coach on fact tonight. Coach be spitting sometimes. Dave says, sometimes. Right now, coach. Right now. Thank you. He means right now. PDX Niner says Purdy was third string to a starter in his high school, sophomore, NCAA, and NFL. You have to have at least some killer instinct to do that. Cousins doesn't.
I agree with that. And okay, so let me take a moment right here. The reason why I like this comment is because that's something that I see in Brock that is undeniable. Brock is a killer. And I know in some instincts, some people may look at his stature and say, oh, who is he? But you know what? That's the ignorant take, right? Like, I did security for physical security for 15 years in DC, right? I've done EP, that's executive protection. I've done CIT, cash in transit. And I'm going to tell you, man, there's some dudes that have been rolling around the city that are killers. And these dudes are walking around 5'7", 165, 175. These are dudes that are walking around 5'8", unassuming. I'm telling you, you don't know what a killer really looks like. You really don't. You know what I'm saying? And I understand that sometimes we like to add the optics and the superhero element to what we think, right, guys are supposed to do. But I done seen menaces in the city of where I've been that these dudes look like children, baby face assassins, where you're like, this is the dude that got 15 bodies. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I see Brock and he got that streak in him where it's like, I'm not going to be disrespected. I know where I come from. And when the rubber meets the road, it's going to be me or it's going to be you, and it ain't going to be me. And that is a quality that I see in Brock that a lot of players don't have.
I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with that.
He's not.
I've never questioned Brock's mentality. In fact, I remember it's funny that sometimes I have to be the voice of reason on the Brock thing, which is really funny to me because now people put me in this category. But I remember going into that first playoff run and talking about, a lot of people are like, man, he's a rookie and what's it going to look like in the playoffs and all these other things. And I said, I don't know what it's going to look like statistically. What I can tell you about Brock, the reason I had him as a third round player the reason that I talked about him for 2 years, I know mentally he's going to bring it. That
Yes.
I will guarantee. I promise everybody watching, he's not going to crumble mentally. Now, that does not mean he's going to ball out every game and they're going to win. That is not what I'm saying. But
He'll go out in
he
a
is not
fiery
going to
blaze.
play bad because
Yeah.
the moment is too big for him. And I knew that about Brock. So I agree with you. I'm 100% on board with you. And that does play. It definitely does play.
Yeah. He's
still not better than Cousins, though.
Whatever. I'll give you that. But I'll tell you this. I see that in this boy. I see it.
I do too. I
see it. Brock is not afraid. And I feel like I see that when the moments get tribal, where it's like it's the law of the jungle right now. We don't care if you die. I've seen Brock stand up.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
So for me, that's a rare quality. It's not something that's easy to come upon. And I feel like a guy like Brock who knows that he doesn't necessarily have the attributes to virtue signal towards how he really feels. Guys like him are even more dangerous. I'm being honest, man. Like that's something this is beyond like football, right? This is beyond like, this is like I look you in your eye and I can tell what I'm seeing. That's this conversation. So I can understand where this may be kind of like off the beaten path and it may not be something that you can look up on PFF.
No, it plays. It plays.
Yeah, but it plays.
I really
plays. And I think Brock's the type of dude where if he had to make the kill, he would make the kill. And there's a lot of people that
I don't think somebody who has been given the lack of physical tools can be where they're at if they don't have that. There has to be something extra about them that a lot of people can't quantify in order for them to be in this conversation that we're having of a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Oh yeah. I mean,
you have to have something.
No. Like there's a difference between, and I think, if you hunt, or something where you just know, like, I'm coming to collect you. You know what I mean? Like, simply put, I'm coming to collect your soul. I'm coming. And it's a matter of fact. It's not a matter of emotion.
Mm-hmm. It is. And usually the elite of the elite have both, though, right? They have that they're talking about, but they also have all the physical skill sets at their disposal as well, or a lot of them, right? So,
and that's what I see in Brock. That raw tribal emotion, I see that in Brock.
He's got
where
it.
It's
he's
like,
got it.
I will pull the trigger. I do not care.
100%. Dave says, "Attaboy, coach. Yeah, Jesse, Kirk has only won one playoff game all day, every day." Look, this is funny. Watch this sequence. You ready for this? So he says
they owe me.
So then Matt says, "Wins and losses are a team stat." So then Dave flips and is like, "Yeah, get him, Matt. You just were on coach's side and now you're like on my." What is going on? Riziki says, "Coach,
work on that
Kirk argument. By your logic, Jimmy G and Rex Grossman are as good as Dan Marino. You really think Brock's situation in San Francisco is comparable to Kirk's situation in Washington?"
And
he acquiesced.
I acquiesced. Rizaki, you are 100% correct, because I had to see where I was on the map. This is one thing that you will get out of me. Most people will stand on their point, and because their ego is involved, will not move off of their point. I am subject to change my opinion with new information. So if I get new information that I feel as though is valid, I will change my opinion. And that is something that's 100% valid. Kirk has not played nearly close to the caliber of teams that Brock has played on. That's facts.
I think this plays as well. This is a great question. And this, we don't know the answer yet. We'll find out. Will Purdy put up Kirk's numbers with Kirk's contract? This plays.
So let me say this. I got to meet Sal in person because he makes great points and I'm getting annoyed. So look, this is a great fucking point. This is a great point. Like, if Brock had $82 million guaranteed, would we be able to see the same Brock, the same brash Brock, right? The money does play. For Kirk to get that, I think Kirk was the first guaranteed professional athlete in the NFL. So that does, like, that's a whole new level of pressure that we don't know. Sal, I agree. I really agree. Classard, I'm trying to keep it family friendly. You do not understand the element that I'm in. We curse at each other daily. It's very smash and grab in my career. So I'm gonna try to work on it. Now that I know, no, seriously, now that I know that I am throwing off the family friendly element, I am so trying to work on my cursing. I will work on my cursing because I love to curse. I will work on my cursing.
Perfect. Brother Bob says, still tripping that coach is defending Kyle Levy. Dave says, no. Let's figure this out, guys. This is all going back to when we were arguing about it. Cub says, this is effing awesome. Say it, Jess. No.
This is really a thing. I didn't know this was a thing, man.
Dave says, attaboy, Cubs. Brother Bob says, I'll end this fourth down. Needs 18. Kirk threw it 4 yards. He didn't have a choice. Nobody was open. He was hoping that somebody would get open. I don't know what to say.
You know,
like, there was literally nobody open.
I'll end this in fourth down. Okay. So look,
he's talking about in the playoff game against the Giants or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was 4th and 18, by the way. But yeah.
Go ahead, bro.
Dave says, Jesse, you don't need to say ish. That's how I would say it. Matt says, Jesse says F, but won't say ish. By the way, it's because it just comes out sometimes. All right. I'm not like intentionally trying to say it. All right. I just get passionate. Dave says, it's after dark. Brother Bob on it again. Matt says, Herbert is a top 5 quarterback with a bottom defense. Thank you.
I do believe.
Okay.
So I did have like a little bit of like a loss in clarity trying to say that Kirk Cousins or Brock Purdy was better than
That's when I cussed, by the way. That's when I cussed. When you said Herbert, I was like, he's not.
I was wrong.
Better than Herbert.
And for full disclosure, I've been drinking a little bit. So yes, I was tripping. So, but I will say this. I will say this. Yeah, Herbert is around. He's like, I feel like Herbert is fringe top 5. He hasn't done it. He's fringe top 5. If anybody had Justin Herbert like from 5 to 8, I would not be mad.
Herbert is closer to Burrow than Purdy is to Herbert, though. I want to make that very clear.
Say that again.
Herbert is closer to Burrow than Purdy is to Herbert. I want to make that very clear.
Oh, I agree with that. And honestly, I'm about to make you curse again. Joe Burrow is a little overrated.
He is. Thank you. I said that. I actually said this the other day.
He's overrated, bro.
He's good, but he's also like arguably top 5, right? And so that's the hard part.
Violence, bro. I want violence. I think Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is a little overrated.
He's a little overrated because people put him number 2, which is he's not. The whole Allen Burrow thing annoys me so much. Like, to me, I don't even understand how people
get it.
I don't get it either.
Not get it.
I don't get it either. But that being said, he's also probably still top 5, or if not, he's 6, which means he's still a very good quarterback.
When we're talking, but honestly, when you're able to say that a top 5 quarterback is a little overrated, really what you're saying is it has nothing to do with the player, but it really has something to do with the fact that we think the league is a little diluted. Like, that's the real issue. The real problem is that we're assessing and critiquing quarterbacks in probably one of the softest era of the NFL. And that's the truth. So really what we would have to do is look at an era of the NFL that we agree on, where we look at the top 10 quarterbacks and what they did. And then we would have to leverage that versus what we see now in quarterbacks, right? That's what we would have to do. But I feel like that's why I went so hard about numbers, because I feel like the league is so soft now. There's a lot of quarterbacks that can hide behind numbers. You know
For
what I
sure.
mean?
I agree with that. I agree with that.
That's
I agree
that's
with no. I agree with, and not all numbers are created equally. Two quarterbacks can put up similar numbers. The eye test always comes first. My point was I validate Kirk Cousins with my eyes and always have, and so the stats back that up. Your point was you look at Kirk Cousins differently when you watch him. Your eyes tell you something different, so those stats don't mean as much to you, which is
you got to
totally
understand.
fair.
I seen I'm in DC right now.
I know. I know.
I'm literally a 10-minute walk away from FedEx Field.
Yep.
Kirk struggled early, man.
He did. I totally get that. Dave says, Jesse says the F word twice. Google explodes. Show goes crazy. Billion views in the second hour. People cannot watch anymore because Jesse and Coach broke the internet. Stone Age era starts all over again from the show. Dude, these scenarios are freaking wild, Dave. Riziki says, imagine Herbert with the San Francisco Rot. Thank you.
Paul, no.
I would love.
No. This right here is why we're Niners fans, in my opinion. Herbert would not be able to survive Kyle. Okay? Like the same way that people say, what would Josh Allen be with the 49ers?
No, but the difference was Herbert
Josh
came
Allen,
out slinging.
You think that Kyle would let Justin Herbert do that?
No, but Herbert was good out the gate, though, is what I'm saying. Herbert would have been fine in any of those situations. Josh Allen's different because it did take Josh a couple years. I don't think Josh would be Josh if he was playing under Kyle.
Okay.
I don't even know if Pat would be Pat playing under Kyle, if I'm keeping it a full stack.
Hear me out what I'm trying to say right now.
Okay.
Trey Lance, when he was on this team, right? Kyle bastardized what? Trey Lance's big arm and his athleticism, right? Most of what Trey was doing was either throwing those long passes, those play action bootlegs. That's the only time we saw Trey be successful. Or when Kyle was running design runs for him. Correct, right? Because Kyle wants to make sure that I'm okay. My job is secure. How the offense runs is exactly how I intended it to be. And there's plausible deniability where if the quarterback does not do what he's supposed to do, it's his fault. I don't think that Kyle has the ego or he's secure enough where he could he would have been able to took on a 6'6" quarterback that could throw a country mile. Like, I'm over it, Jesse. You know what? He got RG3. You know what he did with RG3? He ran zone read until his leg fell off. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, dude, your system and the best thing for you is a Kirk Cousins. It is a Brock Purdy. It is a Matt Schaub. Okay? Let's stop the cap. It's a Matt Ryan. It's not you getting the best of the best. Like, that's not. I'm tired of people giving Kyle this credit as if his genius can just lateral across all facets of football. This dude is a curated guy. He's a one-trick pony. He knows how to do football a certain way. That's it. When you break him outside of it, he's woefully mediocre, right? So, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, the call of a true SME, a subject matter expert or a professional, is be able to call on your skills at will, right? That's a pro, right? It's rain, sleet, or snow, I'm gonna show. That's a pro. That's the definition. Kyle got to have the temperature right. He got to have the right team. He got to have the right defense. All of his players got to be on the field at the same time. If somebody's hurt, we all understand that if somebody's hurt, Kyle can't operate the offense a certain way because one of his stars is down. Like, this guy gets more excuses than a dude on death row. That's not
I don't know
pro.
what you're talking about. Even though Juwan Jennings ran the ball to open the half against Cleveland, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I'm saying. Is,
like, wait, what is he doing running the ball right now? What is going on?
It's ridiculous. All I'm saying is that it's enough of this. It's enough of this. Like, he's a genius. A genius is able to transcend thought. A genius is able to think outside the box. A genius is able to break the status quo of what we know to be intellect. That's a genius, okay? Kyle is an expert at a process, okay? He's a specialist. He ain't no genius. So I'm tired of this. I'm tired of people acting like what Kyle brings to the game is so avant-garde. It's so outside of the box. It's so universal that nobody can catch up. If it was so universal, how come his scheme is the most copied scheme across the league? It's because people bastardize it into what they want to use it for once they take the tenets of his scheme and use it for something else. So it's kind of like, I don't think people really want to like have that conversation. He's good at a specific area of football, but a genius, we've seen when it's time for him to be a genius. He doesn't even take the time to know the playoff rules of overtime. So let's stop with this nonsense.
PDX Niner says, doesn't the progress of the convo tell us about Brock? I agree with that. Completely agree.
Yes.
Tyler says, what's up, Tyler? Says Brock, can Brock ever crack the top 5 not being physically gifted? Yeah, of course he can. But he's going to have to be historically elite with his accuracy, though, the way that Drew Brees was. That's my opinion. That's the only way that he gets there. And he can get there. He can get there. I think that he has a killer instinct for it. We talked about that. I think he has a work ethic for it. I love his mobility. So he can get there, but he's got a ways to go. Again, a lot of people talk about him as if he's this extremely accurate passer. I don't see that. I see somebody who's got the timing down, who reads the field at a top tier level. But when it comes to just pure ball placement, I think he's probably middle of the league in that. So he's going to have to really, really, really get on his horse. And he can. He's still very early in order to close that gap and get to where he needs to be, in my opinion. Keith says, let's see what happens. I think Purdy's a top 10 guy after what he did. I put him at 10. Coach put him at 9. We agree. Rue to the case. Quest? I don't know. My Spanish isn't good, and I'm assuming that's Spanish. So I don't know what that said. Nice to see you, though, Keith. It's been a while, brother. Dave says, let's go, BB. More wine. Say it all. Oh, my God. You get him in here confessing soon. Keith says, it's NBA playoff season. Thoughts on Ant-Man? Dude, wow. He's really freaking good, man. It's insane.
We watching Baby Jordan. Baby Jordan.
Did they beat Denver tonight again?
No,
I didn't even catch the score.
Denver. How they do against Denver?
They beat Denver in game 1. I don't know who won tonight. Bro, they're smashing Denver right now by 23.
You know why I love Anthony Edwards? Because he does not give a F. He does not.
No. Did you see what he said to KD?
You got me on this no cursing stuff, man. Like
I know. But good job by you. Good control. Yeah, did you see what he said to KD though? He told KD, he's like, you were my favorite player growing up, but I gotta whoop that ass. Yeah, I gotta kill you. Basically, I love that, dude.
End you. But that's literally what we talked about. That element of Brock. Like, can you make the kill? Can you make the kill? Can you say, I have to collect your soul, son? Like, you gotta go. and there's no emotion behind this, but you got to go. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I see in Anthony Edwards. Like, he's a killer.
Bro,
He's a
they're
killer.
about to go up 2-0 on the defending champions, and both of those were road games. That is crazy.
But that's the Lions. You see what I'm saying? Like, they don't know no better. They ignorant. They don't know any better. It's like, dude, we just going balls to walls, bro. We don't care.
And Dave says Kyler Murray comes up to my waist. Brother Bob says, Jesse, I guess I missed getting a talking to. No, you didn't get a talking to. Actually, Coach kind of gave you a talking to. It was pretty funny. Ricky says, okay, we always make a big splash free agent signing or trade. Who's it going to be for this up? Oh my gosh. That's tough, man. And you're right. That's the hard part. We don't know. But come mid-season, there's going to be somebody. There's going to be, and you're right. They're going to make that move.
Let's make the too early prediction. This year, I'm calling it. This year, the Niners are going to get an inside linebacker, or they're going to get a corner.
I've got to look at teams that I just think are going to be awful.
The Bears. I'm not moved.
The Bears are going to. I'm not moved, but they're not going to be like awful where they're going to.
It might be. What if they're really like
that? Well, then Caleb Williams is way short of expectations.
That's plausible. He may be a little overrated.
Oh, I don't listen. I don't see a can't miss prospect when I look at Caleb Williams.
He's not a can't miss guy.
That's possible. But if he's even 80% of what people think he is, that team is pretty talented now. They got some talent there. So they should win at least 8 games, is what I'm saying. 8-9 games.
Ooh, Matt,
I don't know.
Matt McCallum just made a really good one. Matt, that's a good one. Greg Newsome from the Browns.
I know. See, I would love Newsome, and we've talked about him a lot this offseason, thanks to Marco bringing that up early in the offseason. I don't think the Browns are going to suck, though. That's the problem. They're going to want to keep these guys. So I don't.
I tend to believe that Deshaun Watson is washed.
And he may be, but that team made a good playoff push with, Joe Flacco. I don't know. It's Ricky. Sorry, I don't have anybody off the top of my head. What I will say is I agree. They always do, and they will again this year. I would be surprised if they didn't. I just don't know. It's too early to tell who that's going to be at this point. Dave says, of course, this is our back and forth feeding you. Brother Bob says, yeah, grab some steaks on us, Sheets Jr.
Sheets Jr. Yeah. Sheets Jr. Yeah.
Keith says, Peyton Manning was trash as a rookie. What would his old power ranking have been going into his second year? I'd rather folks be early to the party. Peyton was top 5 after. I don't know that it was that early, by the way. I don't know that it was that early, but I know where you're going with it.
He was on his way, and I agree with what you're saying, Keith. I agree with that.
But again, going back to the CJ Stroud argument, right? Peyton Manning was that deal all the way through, okay? So that when he came into the NFL and he struggled a little bit, it was like, okay, well, if things get back to normal and start going towards the mean, he's going to be good again, right? Like Jalen Hurts up and down the whole time. So it's like, I don't know, man. I get what you're saying, but you're talking about a dude that was that deal his whole life. Dave Barclay says, coach's fault for the bad language, but we like it. About to get a curse jar.
We do got to get a curse jar.
We're going to get a curse jar and we're going to throw it up in the corner. That'd be funny, actually.
Dude, I'm going to hey, hold on. First of all, how much is the curse jar, bro?
I don't know, but I can get like a virtual one and throw it in the corner. I bet you I can find something.
Dog, how much? Because I'm putting up right now. What's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How much is the curse? How much do you think it would be?
Oh, dude, I don't know. I have no idea. We'll get into it later.
I got $800 for the curse.
The curse jar right now.
I'm putting up $800 for the curse jar. I already know off rip. That's why I'm putting it up.
That's your prepayment for what you know is about to come.
Like, I literally just grabbed the wallet cash. I'm like, dog, off rip. Here go 800 for the curse jar. Just throw me out the way. If we doing $5 a curse, that'll kind of front load me for a while. You know what I'm saying? That'll give me 80 curses. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh. Wow. Dave says we love you both. Keep it up. Thanks, Dave. Ricky, I couldn't answer your last question, so here we go again. Right now, it's clearly Kendrick. Kendrick is winning the battle.
Oh,
Kendrick is winning the battle.
Get into that?
No, we don't have time. I've still got 25 of these things, and it's 12:30.
All right.
But right now, Kendrick's clearly winning. There's no doubt about it. However,
beat you at the high power like God watching. Stop
if we start to find out that some of what Drake said was true, then all of a sudden things can switch. Like
if we find out that some of what Kendrick, dog,
if he planted, hold on, if he planted the daughter thing,
and that's true, and it did not happen. Relationship online, because I will argue you down like we've been.
We're not doing it right now. I'm just throwing this out there. If this is my point of view, real quick, if we find out the daughter thing was a full plant job, then he was thinking 10 steps ahead. That's all I'm saying. I'll leave it at that. But right now, Kendrick is winning.
I'll leave it at this. Who plants a mole to give information to a man about him being a PDF file?
That's not what he said, though. Listen to what he said in the song. He's talking clearly about the daughter. He didn't go into the other stuff. He said, and then he full stop talking about the daughter. Boom. Now let's address the other situation. That's how the whole situation went. He didn't say anything about planting any of that other stuff. Okay. So again,
you know, we don't want to. This is a Niners show. We don't want to. We don't want to do that. But just know that we in tune. We are very much having this discussion behind closed doors.
We are. But we both agree though that Kendrick's winning. Keith says, "Coach, you are a degenerate."
I am a degenerate. I am. Do not think anything of me. I am a degenerate.
Oh, it's funny. Raziki says Kirk being the top 10 gatekeeper is perfect. It's so perfect, and it's 100% true. Keith says never seen Kirk take over a game with his legs. Yeah, but I have seen him do it with his arm. It doesn't matter how you get it done, as long as you get it done. Raziki says also, Coach, skin routine is on point as usual.
You see, Razaki, man, from my heart to yours. I love you, bud.
It is definitely Razaki, and I've always called him Raziki, so that's just what you get called here. I know it's Razaki is probably how it's pronounced, by the way.
Yes, I am a degenerate. In Gen 3 Cali, I was a sinner, and all sinners are degenerates. Yes, we are.
He's a degenerate, but he's got great skincare.
I am a gentleman.
So, Brother Bob says Nails acting like he's not a white
guy rude.
We're not doing that.
You are.
We're not doing that here. We're not doing that here. Dave says, Coach, stay shining. Shining. Matt says, I thought 6'2", 230 makes you a killer.
No, it don't. No, it don't. It's some dudes walking around looking like Jerry Coleman. That are the Grim Reaper.
Yep.
That have you worried.
There was this dude. The reason this is funny to me is because there was this guy that told me all year how he was going to say, I don't know, he hates me over football takes, which is wild. But over football takes was willing to run me out of the stadium and was going to whoop my whatever and all these other things. And he was 6'2", 230. Do you think I ever saw Buddy at the stadium? No, I didn't. But that's what this stems from. That is hilarious. Dave says, Brother Bob goes crazy. Jess and Coach put Drake and Kendrick on hold. Nation shifts attention to the last second sports. Have shots been fired? Will shots be fired? Stay tuned. This is so good, dude. Brother Bob says, MMK, you talking about? I don't think that's who he was talking about, but maybe he was. That's not the way I took it. Comment creators out in full force tonight. Yes, they are. You guys are. I thought, by the way, Matt, I thought you were going to sleep like 2 hours ago. Am I tripping? Brother Bob says, Dave, you mean late second sports?
CBT.
Yeah, you're right.
Bob, clean it up.
Dave says, comment creators clash, and I'm just feeding the flames, Jesse. Yeah, you are. You are. Dave says, can Brock play with wet balls? Pause. Small sample size, but so far,
I will
not
say
great.
this. Yeah, it is a small sample size, and that is something it's consistent enough to be an issue. It really is.
For now, yes. It doesn't mean it can't get cleaned up, though, right? Like, this goes both ways. If I'm gonna reserve my thoughts as to what players fully are after 3 years, I also then can't be a hypocrite and take a small sample size and say, oh, see, they can't be this because of this. That would be hypocritical. So it's a small sample size. So far, not good. But here's the interesting thing about Brock. It's not the hand size. And everybody thinks that. Not everybody, but a lot of people think that. It's not. He has the same hand size as Patrick Mahomes. So it's not the hand size. There's something else to it. Whatever that is, I don't know. But that also does play, though. Eventually, when you're talking about elite, to be elite, you have to be able to carry through weather. And again, it was interesting watching Tua go into a very cold Kansas City Chiefs Arrowhead Stadium, and all week long, everybody talked about the weather. Is Tua going to hold up to the weather? Can Tua play in the weather? Yet the very next week, you saw Josh Allen go up against Patrick Mahomes in arguably worse weather, and nobody talked about the weather. Why did nobody talk about the weather? Because they knew their arms would cut through the weather and it wasn't going to be an issue. True. That does play. That does play.
That plays. That plays. I agree with that.
Matt says, good job cleaning up the effing language, coach. I'm sorry. Dave says, get him, Matt. Matt says, Burrow is rated high because of his team record against Mahomes. Weak argument, Herbert, Burrow. I think they're right there, man. I really could go either way with him. I could. Keith says, if Burrow wasn't injury prone, he wouldn't be overrated. He took the Bengals to the ship crazy, but since there are injuries, I agree.
And honestly, Keith, that is outside of like the play. That is the only thing that makes me think that Joe Burrow is overrated because he just can't stay available.
He can't stay healthy, dude. He can't stay healthy.
Like if he was like kind of like had that like consistency, I'd put Joe Burrow up there all the time, but he just can't stay healthy. So you know you can't count on him. That's the long and short of it, really.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Matt says Herbert offense 28.9 points per game. Defense gives up 29.9. Thank you. Yep. Yes. In fact, Herbert in his first 4 years put up more points than his offense that he leads put up more points than any quarterback in their first 4 years in the NFL history. His defense, though, gave up more than any defense in the first 4 years. So that's why he doesn't have the accomplishments. But what are you going to do? He literally is putting up the best he could do according to NFL history, and it's still not good enough because the defense is the worst that it could possibly be in NFL history. Put that into perspective. Brother Bob says, so why the Dingleberry were you defending Kyle Levy? When was he defending him?
No, because I think at the time where I was trying to say like,
oh, the Kirk Cousins back and forth. I got you. I remember. I got you. Dave said, don't put me in that position. Dave says Kyle can have everything go right and excuses.
That's But you do understand that there's a difference, right? And I want us, like, I say things like, I really want to kind of like clear things up, because we say things like fans, supporters. Really, it's us, right?
For
It's
sure.
us,
For sure.
right? And one thing that I want us to understand is that the name of the game is that Kyle will always have an excuse, because this man is making generational money. Okay. And outside of football, he would not be doing this financially, economically, right? Fiscally. So, really, you have to understand how each season is built. There's going to be plausible deniability, there's going to be a scapegoat, and there's going to be Kyle pushing to make sure that he looks like he's always trying to win the Super Bowl. So for me, I just think that every year he I I listen to Kyle a lot, especially like his interviews, because that's when he's kind of like relaxed, you know what I mean? And in those interviews, I remember him having a conversation, and there was a question asked to Kyle when he was like maybe like 1 year into being the Niners head coach. And he was asked, like, what's one of the best attributes that your father has ever taught you? And Kyle, without hesitation, clear as day, spoke right into the mic and he said, how not to get fired. That's the number one thing that my father has taught me. Not how to win. Think about what Mike Shanahan has done in his career, right? He's coached Steve Young. He's been an offensive coordinator for some of the best quarterbacks and teams of all time. He's revolutionized the game with his outside zone scheme, right? Had some of the best players that have ever played: John Elway, Terrell Davis, right? Steve Atwater, Rob Smith, Ed McCaffrey. I'm talking about turned so many running backs who were, auxiliary assets at best into household names. Clinton Portis, Olandis Gary. Like, and out of all of those things, Kyle is asked, what is the biggest thing that your father has ever taught you? And the number one thing that he said with like literally no hesitation is how not to get fired. Like, I will not get fired. I know how to keep my job, right? And for that, you have to understand that if a guy comes on a job automatically figuring out what far left and far right is, like where are the boundaries, like how much can I skate, right? Imagine all of you have jobs. Everybody in this chat is gainfully employed, right? And everybody knows that when they get the new guy on their job, and the first thing he's asking about is how long is lunch? How much PTO can we really get? Like, how many days can we get off on this week? Do we really have to show up for stand-up meetings in the morning? Like, that truthfully, I'm going to give you whatever the curse bucket is right now, but he's a shitbag. He's a shitbag from day one. So for me, that's why I challenge Kyle, because the expertise, right? If Kyle didn't have the legacy, the expertise would like virtue signal towards Kyle's professionalism, right? That's what you think of. Like, if you get in a job and you get a guy who like really knows his stuff, especially in the industry that you're in, you're giving him kudos. You're like, man, this guy like kind of did the work, bro. Like, he really sat down and like paced himself out. This guy is sharp, right? But Kyle doesn't get that nod for me because he's a legacy. He's like a nepo. He's a nepo baby. So you've literally only known this. So for me, I'm just trying to see like, where's the beef? Pause. But where is it? Where's the real application of, all right, bro, you got taught a revolutionary system at the time in football at a very young age. And that's what you know now. So like, I kind of get how you would know all of the tricks of the trade and know how it's ran. Like, I get that. But when are you going to be able to show me something that's like revolutionary or special to what is happening now? Like, Mike McDaniels left our offense and had Kyle already talking about like his orbit sweeps that like took the NFL by storm. Right? That's something that Mike McDaniels left. Like Mike McDaniels was an assistant on this coaching staff and turned Debo into a running back. That was Mike McDaniel who did that. All I'm trying to say is kind of like, okay, we get it that your daddy put together the offense and you're kind of like refashioning it. I get that. But that happened 8 years ago. We already know that. And everybody else has copied it. So what new are you bringing to the game outside of slowly moving the goalposts where you were a genius, but now you just have a loaded team? And that's the small moving of the goalposts that I feel like people don't see with our team, Jesse, where it's like, at first it used to be like, man, Kyle's a genius because he can get the most out of Deebo Samuel, who's a second-round pick. He can get the most out of George Kittle, who's a fifth-round pick. Like, look at what he's doing with Trent Taylor. Look at what he's doing with Ross Dwelly. And he used to get so much credit for how much production he would get out of lower caliber players. But that's not the case anymore. Christian McCaffrey is one of the best running backs in the league. You know what I'm saying? George Kittle is one of the best tight ends in the league. Deebo Samuel is one of the best weapons in the league. Now, these guys have elevated themselves to be able to show what they can do inside of the skill set that you give them or the roles that you give them. Now it's time to show what you can do. Right? So I feel like it's on Kyle. I really do.
It is interesting how things change, right? Because when you were the young guy, and you're taking over and you're building the team, you get all the credit for that.
You get all the credit. So. If you're young.
But once the team has arrived, though, and you're established, expectations shift overnight. And he hasn't been able to keep up with the expectations at times. So I get it. Dean says, can we stop the nonsense that everybody is copying Kyle Shanahan? They are copying his dad, Mike Shanahan.
Hello.
That's true. We've talked about this before.
I mean, that is 100% the truth.
Everybody, if he's not great, why is everybody running his offense? You know what my rebuttal to that is every time, Coach? Mm-hmm. My rebuttal is, so if half the league is running his offense, how come none of them are winning Super Bowls, right? Like, he's cornered the market. He's got half the league. All that has to happen is one of those guys that are his guys has to go win a Super Bowl. How come that hasn't happened if it's so great?
If it's so easy.
The one guy that did was not a Kyle Shanahan guy. He was a Mike Shanahan guy. And to boot, changed the whole offense to a pass-first offense instead of a run-first and started going with 3 wide receivers almost every single snap to do it. And that was McVay. So if we're going to give him credit for having half the league run his offense, then we probably should be asking, then why are none of those guys winning Super Bowl rings? Dave says, let him fly, Coach. F this, F that, F Kyle, F everyone. Brother Bob says, can't believe Ant-Man dropped $100K and she kept it. What?
I know exactly what he's talking about.
I don't. You'll have to fill me in, but I don't. It sounds bad, so I don't want to get into it.
Brother Bobby, wow, bro. He be trying to spill the tea in real time, bro.
I feel like Brother Bob's like the guy at the barbecue that goes around like just scheming information out of everybody, and it's like,
bro, you want to know
what's really going on? You got to go talk to Brother Bob.
I'm gonna tell you, who Brother Bob is. Brother Bob is the cousin or the younger sibling who doesn't care and likes to he gets a kick out of making everybody in the family uncomfortable. He loves to see people squirm. That's his bag. His whole bag is, I'm going to say something that's on the level, but not necessarily snitching, but it's snitch-esque. And it's enough to make somebody say, yo, that's a little too much, bro. And he gets so much gratification out of watching us squirm.
He loves it. He does.
Look at him. That is him. He loves it.
Dave says, if anyone disagrees with Kyle, I see temper tantrums. Oh man, you're gonna have to tell that story if you haven't told it about the tablet thing one day. Have you told it
We got too
before?
much. No, I've never said this, but
Okay.
I can.
Don't say it here, but we will talk about it. No,
We
no,
will
no, no.
talk about that.
This is noteworthy. Dave says 800 will get you until 4th of July. He's talking about for the curse jar. 800 is going to get you to the 4th of July.
Yeah, 800 to get me to the 4th, baby. I know. Yo, look, if the curse jar, depending on what the curses are costing, but for the curse jar, I'm putting like $5K to the side, like, especially for the season. Take 5. Like, you know what I'm saying? You got me. I'm going off. Like, I'm that type of dude. Like, I know what I'm gonna do.
Dave says, how long can we keep this show going? Please, not much longer. You guys are great, but dude, it's almost 1 a.m. and I got to be up at 6. Matt says, why fell asleep? So I'm back. Brother Bob says, MMK, keep it real. Your 62230 comment was about, all right. Well, I'm not here to. Best chat in Niners show that I've ever seen, Dave. The fact that this is happening in a random Monday in the offseason is absolutely insane. Not just the supers, but how many people are in here for this show. I've got 438 watching on Twitter right now.
Bro,
and 200 watching on YouTube. That's crazy.
I'm gonna say this, right? Since we got these people watching, man. Let me say this, bro. Like, this is the real fan base right here.
It is.
At 12:50 a.m. Eastern, okay? At what's that? 9:50 a.m. Western, bro. Like, the people that are in this chat right now, like, are the real people that I will, like, literally read your comments. I will toil with you. I will answer you. I will be accountable to you, because the rest of these motherfuckers are just leeches.
Curse
bro.
jar.
Whatever. I'll put more money in. But the people that are here on a Monday at this time right now are the people that I truly, like, care about. You know, like, the people that email me about my parents and talk to me about, like, coach, where have you been? Like, I know who I'm talking to right now. So I love this area of, like, our fan base, because quite frankly, Jesse, let's be honest, bro. Before this show started, full stop, did I not tell you? I was like, I don't want to do this show, bro. I said that to you. I was like, I don't feel like it. I don't want to do this. Like, I did way too much work today. I got to go see my parents. I got tons of stuff to do. I don't want to do a show today. But, like, the fact that we're surrounded by, like, real people, good, bad, or indifferent, like, not even ass kissers. You don't like it. You don't like it. That's cool. Like, is what makes you want to get on here. You know what I'm saying?
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And it's funny because it's easy to get lost in the sauce a little bit when it comes to, you know, a bad comment here or there or what have you. But there's a group that is strong in here right now watching, right? Most of them do rock with us. But even for those that, like, quote unquote, don't rock with us and they're here to troll or whatever, like, if you're here right now, like, you're the ones that I will actually entertain and have a good back and forth with you when you're trolling.
Because you put in the work. You're here.
That's exactly it.
If you're
like,
here, come on, dude. If
you gotta
you're
acknowledge
here at 12:53 telling me
you
that
gotta
I'm a
acknowledge
dumbass and telling me that you don't like my takes, I'm answering you, bro.
It's real talk.
I'm answering you, bro, because you're here, right?
Yeah.
I'm not answering nobody at 12 o'clock in the afternoon during the draft. Fuck out of here. I'm talking to the people that are here now, right? I'm answering you. So I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll say this. This is more prevalent in the league than I think most people would want to admit. I will say that. So I don't know if he is. I'm definitely not going to slander anybody on this show. But I will say that it's pretty prevalent, I would imagine, in the league. Like, these guys don't just stay up all night by happenstance. Matt says Mike S made top running back value obsolete. Man, he did for a while, dude. Those were. Matt says, BB, you know, he is a wolf of Wall Streeting. He's wolf of Wall Streeting that at. Yeah. Yeah. Brother Bob says, Dave, I will take that as a yes. Serious? I don't know what they're talking about right now. Dave says, how good of a show is this? Gatekeeper of the top 10?
I think that was a goated comment. That was a goated comment.
It was a goated comment. It was. Hey, and you know what? If this is the Kirk Cousins of 49ers shows, I'm proud of that. Okay?
I'm proud of that. I like that. This was the Kirk Cousins of 49ers shows. We can't keep the top 10.
I'm proud of that. I'll take it. Raziki says, guys, go to bed. We're trying, dude. I'm trying. Brother Bob says, Matt, only homers think Kyle Levy is a genius. Man. Dave says, was just going to say that, Jess. If Kyle's system is so good, why aren't others winning on that system? That's the whole point.
Very good point.
It's a big deal. Everybody wants to tout half the league's running his system. Well, then if you got half the league running your system, you have the numbers in your favor that a Super Bowl should be won by somebody running your system. Why is that not happening?
Yeah.
Dave says, I got to be up at 6 too, Jess. You're wild. You're like willingly doing this at this point. Dave says, we love you guys. I will, I think he meant box. He said, I will fox with both y'all any day. Oh, mess with or box. Either way, I'm pretty sure it wasn't Fox. Brother Bob says, maybe Coach had a no. Coach definitely didn't have the pick me up that you're talking about.
No,
Dave, never. Dave says, we're going to tell you the truth. I like that. And then Dave says, look at us. Don't stay up by happenstance. I will say this, Dave. You said about an hour ago, can we make this show go another hour? You successfully did it. Successfully did it. You got it. You made it happen. Coach, I don't know how this has happened 2 weeks in a row.
We do it all the time.
But during the off season, when not a lot's going on, we managed to put out 2 3-hour shows. Now tonight was mainly because the chat was carrying things. So we appreciate each and every one of you.
Respect.
Last week, we just went 3 hours. That was wild.
We
that was
literally went 3 hours.
And we could have gone 4. And honestly, tonight, we could have gone another hour. There was a topic or two we didn't even get to.
That's so true.
It was crazy. But yes, Brock, this is every Monday. We're doing this. We got a thing. We're going to run this by you guys, but we're going to be transparent. I'm going to be transparent for you guys with you guys for a minute on the YouTube thing and how it works. So most of you know.
Let's do it.
Most of you know that Coach lost monetization. When he reapplied, they kept saying he was using reused content. The reason that they're saying that is, so on StreamYard, which is what we use to stream, a lot of these guys are double dipping where they'll go live and then the other person is streaming the exact same show on their channel. Well, for Coach, most of his shows were that because he collaborates with Larry and Grant, myself, Ryan, and he was just letting people host. And then he would pull the stream over on his channel. Well, they took that because he wasn't hosting these shows and they won't let him monetize. So we're in a situation where in order for Coach to like get back to monetization and take his channel back over, we're figuring out how do we do that. It's going to be different with everybody. But I think for Coach and I, what we're going to do is we're going to do like a halftime thing where we're going to do a show here for about 45 minutes to an hour. Then we're going to call a halftime and we're going to go blitz Coach's channel and we're going to finish the show out over there with a new set of topics. So that's the plan. We're trying to figure out the logistics. What does it look like? It's harder in the off season because there really isn't a lot of topics, right? Mm-hmm. During the season, this will be much easier, but we're trying to figure that out. So eventually that will be the format of this show where it's like a 2 hours every Monday, an hour here, an hour on Coach's channel, and we do a halftime and then we go raid Coach's channel and we get him back to his monetization.
Yeah.
So eventually that's what we're going to get to.
And it'll work both ways because it's literally what Jesse explained is exactly what's happening. I'm getting hit with reused content. So a lot of the collaborations that I do, what happens is that YouTube isn't recognizing my attribution, really, my addition to the show. What they're saying is that the people that I do shows with, that's their content. And when I show that content on my channel, YouTube is looking at that as duplicate content, as if I'm basically ripping off of the shows that I'm doing my own content on. So we've come up with a couple of things, some guys that I'm just going to be guests on their show. But for some people that are willing to play ball like Jesse, right? What we're going to do is we're going to be able to put out a show where if we're here, like right now, we're damn near at 3 hours right now. We're at 250. So what we could do to be able to supplant that is, let's say 1 week, Jesse gives an hour of a show and I'll have the link ready where it's like, hey guys, we're going to have a quick little interlude. We'll pop over to my channel and then we'll switch it. Sometimes it'll be me, sometimes it'll be Jesse. But right now we're just trying to work through this and really thank you guys for your patience. I almost thank Jesse because honestly, this was Jesse's idea. Like I came to him with the problem and he talked to me about like what would be the best ways on how to handle this. And for right now, that's what we're probably going to do just to move forward. So I know you guys have been on my channel right now. And honestly, I love Jesse for being able to even give me this room to do this on his platform, quite frankly, because I'm a guest right now. But on my channel, don't be alarmed. I'm going to strip all of those old videos because they're reused content, right? So what I'm going to be able to do is just do exclusive content on my channel, and it's going to be not seen anywhere else on YouTube. And that's kind of like the delta that I have to cross to be able to get that done. So like, I really thank you, Jesse, for being able to just like broach that subject.
Course, dude.
Yeah, because like it was really weird for me to be able to talk about it, and with the things that are going on with my parents, like it's kind of been weird. So guys, like that's how it's going to roll out from now on, not just with me and Jesse, but with other shows that I do as well. So I don't want you guys kind of thinking like, well, how come coaches shows are broken up in a certain way? It's because I need my IP, my intellectual property. If I'm on a show with Jesse like we are right now, I need YouTube to recognize that as an equal endeavor. Like Jesse put just as much into this show as I did, right? But we got to do it a certain way for YouTube to be able to see it that way. So
yeah,
I really love you, Jesse, for even bringing this up because it's something that I was worried about.
Dude, I can't. I don't understand how you can be half of the show and get no credit in YouTube's eyes. That's crazy to me, but it is what it is. We'll work around it. We don't make the rules, we just follow them, but we'll figure out a way to make it work. Dave says, woohoo, we did it, guys. Yay. Brother Bob says, thanks to Grant Cohn for having Brother Bob on twice. Grant's the like seeker of up and coming talent. You know what I mean? He does a great job with it. So
yeah, he's nice.
He's nice with it. Dave, I'm sorry, dude. You gave me $9.99. I can't read that comment, dude. I'm so sorry. I hope you understand where I'm
coming. I really want to read that content when we get offline because I want to read that comment so bad.
I can't.
It's crazy. Is it crazy?
It's crazy. Brother Bob says, special shout out to my agent MMK for the work. Dave says MMK putting in the work, pushing the bus. And then he says this show was epic. So we support each other always. Thank you guys so much. Seriously, this was a fantastic show. Never expected it. You guys are great in the chat. Much love to everybody. Brother Bob says, well, the chat put like 400 into this show. So he ain't lying though, bro. He's not lying. That's the crazy Bob part.
He's spilling the that's the crazy Brother part. Bob, I'm about to give you my phone. Yo, we about to talk on the phone, bro. You going way too hard on the internet.
Dave says, Jesse, come on, man. No, I can't do it, bro. I can't. All right, y'all. Coach, thank you as always for giving me the time. Everybody in the chat, Thank you, 49ers Breakdown. Still got the hat. Much love. I don't believe I'll be back tomorrow because Sunil has an early dinner and I can't work around it. So unless I can come up with some topics, I might do a solo show. But I might also just take the night and take advantage and watch the roast of Tom Brady with my wife. I haven't been able to see that yet. So we might watch that together as well. Dave says I easily put 150. Brother, you way more than that. Appreciate you. Much love, everybody. Stay blessed. I'll be back soon. Peace.